regular meeting, Thursday, October 8th, 2020. It is now 6:04 PM. We're called to order. Okay, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance
to the flag of the United
United
States
States of America
and
and
to the
to the
republic
republic
for
for
which it
which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
for all.
Okay, roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
here.
Director Gibson's absent, Director Kelly,
Here.
Director Nyman's here, Director Schoenberg.
Here.
Okay, discussion vote, adjust agenda if necessary. Um, I think we're okay. I think we just need to, unless anybody else has something they want to.
No, there's a lot
Yeah.
of stuff. Just power through it.
Okay. All right. Number 3, any public comments? Okay. Number 4, report of officers. President,
None.
Vice President, I have nothing. Secretary,
I have nothing.
Treasurer,
I transferred, I made the transfers for the planning, money to, which we'll be paying off of. So money went into the planning account to cover, some checks that we need. And I also, I reported that last month, it should be coming out every month, the, amount set up for the, improved serve. The bank still has not fixed our name protocol on their banking.
so we have to go in there again.
To go bug them. Well, I guess that'll be on the ad hoc. So yeah, I think that's it for this.
Okay. JPI representative is absent. Number 5, any board member initiatives?
Negative.
Hearing none, on to the manager's report.
All right, we got notice today that our bookkeeper is leaving. She has to move to Nevada because her husband is got some health issues. So I'll start looking for a new bookkeeper. And in the meantime, she said that when we find somebody, she'll help train them either in person or remotely. So if anybody knows any good bookkeepers, you could throw their names my way and I'll start looking for them. One of the invoices you'll see is for insurance. What they'd done was it was a super high insurance because apparently they said that.
Johnny, can we talk about that in when we get to financials?
Yeah, if you want me to split that up like that.
Yeah, because we have things to talk about during financials, so that I think that's the appropriate time to talk about that.
Okay. We had
oh, go ahead.
somebody was going to say something. What?
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Johnny.
So anyway, we had a total of 437 service work orders, but that included a bunch of USAs that we had to mark, or ones that were marked last month that weren't included in the manager's report. We're still trying to get the front desk trained well enough to know what to put in the manager's report. We also have there was after hours call outs, a bunch of them, but they weren't counted, so I included those in the email that I sent to you guys. But all total, I think we have 22, 23 after hours call outs for last month.
Wow. Oh my
and
God.
a lot of them had to do with the power outages, with being out of power and having to run around and hook up generators and alarms going off because of it and all that kind of stuff. So the guys have been very busy, and but we handled it. And the other thing is another one of the trucks with the Mini X got the back tail light knocked out, little dent put on the truck. So I did what our policy is now, and did a drug test and a write-up, and but this time it's not that bad. I ordered a new tail light that was a couple $100, and I'm gonna try to go ahead and do a little body work and get the tail light back in there and stuff. So it's not another hit to our insurance. In the meantime, I've started driver training classes. We've got a whole new procedure protocol for where everything's going to be parked on the job sites and the equipment and all of that. So
So how did we hit that, Johnny? Do we know?
yeah, we had the rented Mini X, which is an unfamiliar piece of equipment. And when you're driving that, you got to have the front boom out whichever way the Mini X is tilting while you're tracking along like a tank. And I've done it myself. You forget where that boom is at times when it's off to the side. And since he'd only been on it a couple of times, potholing, he didn't have the experience level for operating and being aware of his surroundings. So now the trucks have to be parked a lot farther away from the holes. We have to have spotters when people are operating that equipment, no matter what. So I did some spotter training and hand sign training. We spent a considerable amount of time in the office going over videos, teaching everybody how to spot, what to do, how to hand signal the operator. So, and then as soon as COVID opens back up again, we'll do another defensive driving class through JPIA. So, unless anybody's got any questions, that's all I got.
Okay. All righty. Administrative assistance report.
I don't have anything. Everything I've been working on will be covered on the agenda.
Okay. All right. 7, ad hoc committee, local information committee.
There's been nothing.
Okay. Project committee.
What haven't we done? We've done so much stuff on that committee. It's hard to even go over, but we definitely have been moving forward. We contacted our local representatives, the office of Shannon Grove, and also the office of Vince Fong. We were requested, they both called back pretty rapidly after we talked to the initial representatives. They sent us up the chain to representatives that are above them. They called me multiple times asking me questions. They requested we write a letter. We wrote a letter in regard to well number 5 and what the situation is with that. I should have had Tiffany put that letter in the packet. I forgot because none of you have actually seen that letter because I couldn't show it to you because we could only do it between 2 people. But I went back and forth quite a bit with Dave Warner and with all kinds of people, just double checking the facts, and then pulled a lot of pulled information from these reports. And anyway, so this letter, I don't know if can you pull that up? Do you have a copy of that?
Are you asking me? Sorry,
Yes,
I cut
Tiffany.
out. No, I have not seen a copy of the letter.
Oh, I guess if you allow me to share my screen, I can pull it up because really they should see the letter. I messed up and didn't put it in the packet. So let me, because I'm gonna have to pull up the other letter too, which they also haven't seen. So let me see if I have that letter. Hold on just a minute. Shoot. Just long threads from all this stuff. Looking for the Lawrence. Okay, it should be under here. Well, not in that one. shoot.
Lisa, question?
Yeah,
Do you have that spreadsheet of the projects and the accounts that are gonna service them and the amounts that we need to spend on them that is spoken about in the last couple minutes, last couple sets of minutes? Is
Um,
that an actual, or is it something I get a copy of, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
you can get a copy of it now. You couldn't get a copy of it as the ad hoc, but yeah, so probably I need to send out copies of all this, but let me just try to, I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. I'm looking for
Okay,
30th.
okay,
Hold on.
thank you.
Here's the state legislators letter, which is, let's see. Uh, Okay, so, can you pull up, or do you have share screen on?
I gave you permission.
Okay, I just need to, hold on, I need to go on Zoom on my computer, just a second. Okay, 8 and 3. Sorry, guys. I forgot all about this. It's just been really hectic. I've been working on an awful lot of stuff. Okay, so let me share this. Let's see, 05503. Screen. Okay, so this should be coming on. So what happened is Director Nyman and I called the state, and also, well, we've been talking to the state, and we also decided with Dave and Oscar, et cetera, to contact our state legislators. And so let me minimize this. So, like I said, after that call, they requested a letter. We sent like a really preliminary letter, and then this was kind of the official letter. So the official letter, which went to the representative for Vince Fong and the representative for Shannon Grove. Basically, I don't know if you can see that on your screens, but basically it talks a little bit about the district. It talks about well 5. It talks about what our current needs are, and that well 5 is not, if it fails, well 6 is not capable of pumping enough gallons per minute. It talks about the average residential water bill, that we can't really raise rates at this time. Talks about Lake of the Woods and the fact that the state's asking us to step up and take on additional water system users, and that they're also a disadvantaged community, but that we actually are even a poorer community than they are. It talks about the capital improvement project. So this is a little bit about what you were talking about, Jerry. So it talks about Fraser Park, Lake of the Woods. That's for $1,014,000. Meter replacement projects, 3.4 million. Water line replacement estimated over 5 million. And then the 4 current projects that we have to do immediately. Well number 5 replacement estimated about $1 million. Replacement of the booster station and piping at Wolf Tank, somewhere around 238,000. And emergency purchase of multiple backup generators, about 75,000. And ongoing pipeline repairs. I had it at 300,000, but we're thinking of more trails than that, and we didn't want to completely deplete our, if we go all the way to 0 and we keep having leaks and we have to do stuff, we're going to be in trouble. So that's estimated at about 500,000. So and then we talked about a new loan would cause a financial strain on the community. Again, reiterated that Lake of the Woods has some issues, and we really need to be able to help them, but we can't help them without well 5. And then also talking about how much money we have to put into well 5. I approximated 500,000 that we could spend and still have enough money for the pipeline repairs we need, and then ask them for 500,000. So that's where we are on that letter, and I can have Tiffany send you guys copies of it if you would like, but that's the letter that went out to the representatives. It also, I copied Lawrence, and gave him a heads up before I sent the letter as well, so that he wasn't just, surprised that we were suddenly going to other people. We're gonna try to use this letter when we talk. Our next step is to make an appointment with Lawrence's boss, Joe Korkowski, and talk to him about this as well. There's a resolution coming up later, which I also worked on with Tiffany. That's coming up later on, number 11, item 11, and that's to add well 5 to the meter replacement project. But I stressed to the representatives, also Director Nyman was on that call a couple of times. We stressed that we don't think we're going to get that money in time, and we believe the well will probably fail before then. So that's kind of out on the table with everybody. And so that was one thing that we did. The second thing that we did, and I guess actually I can bring that up under the will serve, so that can come up separately, but we worked on a will serve letter as well, conditional, which also has to do with well 5. And then for the rate study, Johnny and so I think that's, did we do anything else under the projects? Well, we just did our usual business of doing the meeting on the third Thursday, and we've also been going back and forth about getting the stuff signed for and that's also further on the agenda, but for the test wells, and we went to the bid opening. Actually, Director Nyman didn't make it to that, but that's also further on the agenda. So that committee's been extra super busy. And the rate study we worked on today, we're meeting, what's the gentleman's name, Johnny? I don't have his name in front of me, but we're meeting
David. It's David.
David from RCAC on Tuesday at 2 p.m. And we started going over the capital replacement program, which is also what I think you're talking about, Jerry. And so we have a whole list from the last rate study, as well as an incorrect list that needs all kinds of changes from our, that Linda has gotten to us, but it's still missing stuff and there's things in the wrong places, but that's our asset list. And so we started going over the asset list today. We're meeting tomorrow and we're meeting Monday. So we're trying to get a chunk of that out of the way before we meet with the gentleman on Tuesday, because we just heard from him, yesterday or the day before, asking for a meeting. And so that's, so we're going to have to scramble on that, but that's kind of where we're at on that. Hopefully he's not, it's just an initial meeting and he's telling us what else he needs, because we're not going to have the assets done at that point. And that's where we're at.
Well, good job. I think that letter was very well written. And
Yeah,
I can
Lisa
see
did
how
a
busy you guys are.
Lisa did a
Excuse me?
fantastic
Hello?
job.
I think I
Yes.
had the floor there.
Did I give
Thank
you
you.
the floor? Oh.
Anyway, go on.
No, it's fine, Jerry. Go ahead. I'm just
I'm
messing
done.
with you.
I'm done.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that on the letters, Lisa did an incredible job on that.
A lot of thanks to also to Dee and to Dave, which both kept looking over the letter and making some changes to it.
Yeah, they were paying Lisa back for all the times that they've had to redo things for her, so.
Yeah, Dave kept sending me stuff, but I finally got so tired so I did it 2 days straight with barely a break, and I finally told him I was too tired to go on, and I was sending the letter. But so I missed one of his really valuable suggestions, but I got all the rest of them. So. And then
Okay,
stuff I'll pull up. So I'll share my screen when we come to the will serve letter.
okay. All right. Okay, then we'll go on to discussion vote on accounts payable and financial information. Linda, you're up. You gotta unmute yourself, Linda.
Yeah, for you.
Okay, hello. All right, the first total cash and cash equivalent is $2,056,475.28 as of September 30th, 2020. The revenue operating account is $163,279.57. And that is after those transfers that Lisa mentioned earlier.
Including,
Also,
Linda, is that including the 20,000 a month that's going into the capital improvement fund?
yes, it does. Yes.
What, can you say that total one more time, Linda?
163,279.57.
So that's as of what, today, or?
That's as of September 30th.
Then that doesn't include the transfers I made.
It includes those transfers you made through September 30th. I believe they were on September 25th. You made them.
Right, so there's some additional transfers, but they'll show up for next month.
Yeah, there is. They'll show up in October. Also, I wanted to let you know that the general ledger was sent to the auditor. The total of all the checks totaled $63,280.10, and the balance after cutting those checks and including deposits that were made is $113,183.37. Now, I did want to bring a couple items to your attention. The ACWA Joint Powers, that is for the insurance on the equipment. Last year, that was almost 21,000 approximately. So it was a decrease of about 10,000 on that one. The Association of Cal Water,
And that is
dues.
that is our auto and our regular insurance,
No.
correct?
Yeah, it's our
Right.
general, it's our liability for everything, and they did not increase this year.
Yeah, in fact, it went down.
Yeah.
The Association of California Water, the dues increased by $1,000 from last year. So last year it was around 5,500. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. The next one I wanted to bring to your
Can I say
attention.
something quickly about that, Linda? Just so other people understand, it's based on our O&M. And so it goes up depending on what we're actually paying. And that's something, I talked to Director Nyman when we were going over the bills. It's something I'd like to look into and see, and to make sure that that's correct, or, and what we're getting out of that. But we don't have time right now. So I'll try to, that's probably going to be a couple months from now for next year.
Okay. The next thing I wanted to bring to your attention was the Joint Powers Insurance for the medical, dental, and vision. And basically why it's so high is because we had 3 new employees. And they added on the retro for the last 2 or 3 months. And so that's why it was so high for that.
Okay, but we have a question for that, because that's what Johnny was going to talk about. Because it seems that they're charging us for time that they shouldn't be charging us for.
Yeah, so
Well,
what
I
happened?
know that-
So what happened was, because I spoke to him today, what happened is they're assuming that for some reason they said they found some kind of document from us saying that medical was supposed to start after 30 days, dental or vision, one of the two was supposed to start after 60, and something else, and the other one was supposed to start after 90.
But
I told
that's
them
not
that's
correct.
okay. I know. Can I finish?
Yeah.
I told them that that's never been correct, that the only time it ever changed was when they informed us that we had to have a 60-day probation period, and that is because of the Affordable Care Act. So they were trying to go retroactive on medical back to when all 3 employees hit 30 days. So she said all I needed to do was send them a copy of our employee handbook where it spells out the probation period, which I did today. Monday, I will follow up again, and she said she's going to work with us, and then we have to dictate what our probation period is. I don't know that the Affordable Care Act is still a factor at 60 days. So if that's the case, we want a 90-day probation period. So even though we're going to pay what they said, they're going to have to credit back money because none of them should have started their medical until 60 days.
Okay, so do we know, because on here they have August, like Tanya, they have August, September, and October. So when was she hired? Do we know?
Well, I mean, I'm at home now, but I'm just telling you, they're figuring 3 months
Okay.
back.
All right.
They're
what
figuring
I-
3 months. Well, let me finish. They're figuring 3 months back when they can only figure 2 months back, or not even 2 months. They can only figure 1 month back because they can't charge us at 30 days. We didn't start their insurance did not effectively start until 60 days, according to our employee handbook. So that's all they could charge us is
Okay.
from the 60 to the 90.
Right. So what I would like you to do, Linda, if you could pull out what we paid last month, the bills we paid last month, because we paid 2 months. And I mean, we're going to go ahead and pay this, but I want to compare who was on and what we paid to, because there's an adjustment page. And I want to make sure that they didn't overcharge us. And then Johnny can pull out their higher dates and we can, so I'm gonna leave this.
They did not charge us last month because they had no information last month. The way insurance works is they don't know even that we have a probationary period
Okay.
until we're ready to.
Right,
I would
Johnny,
just like to finish the whole sentence, please. I talked to them already and they didn't know until just like 2 weeks ago. So they couldn't have charged us last month because they didn't even know about the employees is all I was saying.
well, I remember paying last month the same amount of over like $10,000 or $11,000. And then another one, we had 2. Yes, we did, Linda. We had 2 that we paid. One, there was 2 invoices there, one that you said you didn't have, and there was another one. So I just want them pulled out. I want them pulled out because I want to review them.
No, I agree that it's
Okay,
good to
not
review
a
those
problem.
2, but it's good to review those 2, but it just doesn't have anything to do with the new employees is what I was trying to say.
I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying, and I just want to make sure because I seem to remember Corey being on there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
So-
let me refresh your memory on what happened with the other ones. Remember, the other ones is we had an invoice that we were paying, and I saw that we had not received the invoice yet for October, and we always pay a month in advance. And so we then went ahead and added October as well because we had the
Right.
invoice they originally sent us was not correct. It showed as being 0 instead of including the October one. So we paid based on what should have been, and then we received the corrected invoice, and the corrected invoice I had given, I had put a note on the information for you guys that this did match up with what we paid. So
Right,
that
and
is
I-
fine,
and like
but
I
yes, I
said,
will pull that so you can
I
see it.
I just want to
and
review.
compare it
I
with
just
this
want to
one.
review everything.
No, I appreciate that, and I think you should, so that's good. And that to make sure, and then we'll make a note too of what kind of credit we should be expecting from them, so that when the new invoice comes in, I can have a note on there, here's how much credit we should be getting, and hopefully they will agree with my figures based on the employee handbook.
Okay.
And then I have one more thing that's not insurance related that I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
Okay, the next thing is, after the payments for the planning grant, we received the money for claim number 4. We cut those checks, that's all fine. But then there was additional checks for the TA funding that needed to be cut. And so after cutting those checks, the planning fund is overdrawn $8,260.05. And it's my understanding that Lisa was aware that that was going to happen. And
No,
that she was,
no, I transferred the money yesterday, so it shouldn't be overdrawn at all. So I need to go on the bank. because
okay, I
it was
did not see that. I did not see that transfer. I didn't see the printout of it. So
Yeah,
I'll be,
hasn't come to you yet, but the money's in the bank. I'm a little
okay,
overwhelmed. I'm
perfect.
doing about 100 things for the water company, and it's
No,
taking
I
every
gotcha. I saw that. I saw that you've been doing. So how much was that? So I can double check it, make sure that the bank recorded on the account and I can post it appropriately.
It's exactly what the checks are. So you
Okay,
had
let's-
extra when claim number 4. Hold on. When claim
I was
number
gonna-
4 came.
I
Who's
wanted to
talking?
go over those anyways,
Did you-
Lisa.
Okay, can you hold on a minute? When claim number 4 came in, that money was put in the planning account. There should have been some extra money attached to that I have not yet transferred, and that is the money to pay back the board for board fees and also for our for Tiffany for doing administrative work. So that has not been transferred back into the revenue yet. So that's extra money that has not gone back. Then I transferred yesterday, and it should have gone in, and I may have to check before these checks go out. We need to hold them, and I need to go on the bank tonight and make sure that the money went through. But I transferred two multiple transfers. So one was for $6,330.22, and that was to cover. It was April, May, and July. There was nothing for June in that particular reimbursement. So it was $3,837.22. I'll read the invoices. So invoice 200403-4A for $3837.22. 200503-7A for $1,881.00. 200501-1A for $198 and 2007-055A for $414. That should total $6,330.22, and that money will be reimbursed when additional TA funds become available. So that money was to be reimbursed, is to be reimbursed, but that's checks for D. Jasper and Associates. And then there's some
And
additional
that's coming from the TA funds.
coming from the TA fund, but it's not yet. It's coming from our account. So what I did is I transferred from the operating revenue to the planning so we can track everything. I had Linda write separate checks for each of these amounts so that we know which invoices for sure that each is attached to, so we don't get confused. And when that money comes back from TA funds, when it finally gets approved, that money will go back into operating and revenue. And then there's also July and August. So for July and August, there's invoice 2007-052A for $540.40, 2008-057A for $792, and 2008-061A for $2,643, for a total of $3,975.40. And let me send right now by email, so I'm sure that you get it. Hold on one second. I will send to Tiffany and Linda the receipts, which I hadn't sent yet because I had not done the other transfer. I still haven't done the other transfer, which is to put money back in operating revenue for the board and the administrative. So I'm going to send these and make sure you get them right now.
Okay, but, okay, let's not, I don't want to get confused. So the ones that you just, those two that we just talked about, the ones that you ran off, those are all to D Jasper, and they're for the TA funds that Dave Warner has not gotten from the state yet. And we're paying that money, and we will get you're transferring it from the operating fund into the planning fund, and we will get reimbursed for that.
Correct.
Okay, so we're gonna keep these separate, Linda. I'm gonna send them back,
Right.
and we have to keep them separate
Well-
so that we keep track of them to make sure that Dave doesn't forget to pay us.
Yeah, I'm gonna have those put in a separate folder in the cabinet and mark them TA funding reimbursement.
Right, but
Okay.
we're sending the checks out, Brahma. You're just saying you're putting the. paperwork
Right,
out.
no, I have no problem sending the checks out, and you've
Okay,
transferred those monies already.
Okay, and the claim 4 is when we already were paid for that, and that went directly into, and we shouldn't have paid any of those out already. Hopefully we hadn't. And that went into the planning account, and we cut checks for claim 4 on that. Claim 5, we have not cut yet. And claim 3 was only for board reimbursement, so that went back into revenue. And then we still have some money owed D Jasper, I believe, for some of the other work that's we paid some of it. I don't know if we paid all of it. I don't know if we got invoices for everything yet. But those are the C invoices, and those you know, there were some issues with
Well,
the
those, we paid those last board
I-
meeting.
I know, but there's some additional ones that are going to be coming in.
Okay, so what we're paying now are 4 invoices for claim 4. One is 20-05011B for $8,439.20. And there's from invoice 20-03014B for $396. And then 20-04013B is $396. And then from 20-04014, $92.63.
That's
And
correct.
so, yeah, so the 9263 was added after my email. I didn't have that on the initial email, but that's all from claim 4.
That came from Dave,
And we have that money, and that should be in the account.
and it's in the claim 4 packet. So it was just not on your email, but it's in the packet.
Right.
Could you just review those numbers again, Brahma?
Okay, there's invoice 20-05011B for $8,439.20. Then there's invoice 20-03014B for $396.
Yep.
And then there's 20-04013B for $396. And then 20-04014 for $92.63.
Thank you.
And that's all came from claim 4.
Okay, and Linda, I just sent the receipts for the 2 transfers, so you should be getting those in email. And then before we send those checks off, Director Nyman, when we take a break or something, I need to go on California Bank and Trust and make sure that they went through. But they went through according to the receipt, but I can't guarantee that they actually transfer the money without looking to see what's in the account.
Okay, that's fine.
But they should match up. So there shouldn't be a minus, there should be a plus, Linda, in that account. And if there isn't, something's wrong. So there should still be a
Well-
plus, because I didn't transfer out the funds for the board and the administrative fees from claim 4.
Right. Like I said, I did see the transfer report that you print out. And so that transfer did not get printed, but Tiffany did tell me about it. And she said that you were going to provide that to me. So I knew that you had taken care of it and were aware of it. So,
Well, yeah, but there's yeah. So I mean, if there's a
but I
question.
didn't have the
on
exact amount.
that- Okay.
So they'll get posted now and it will show a positive balance.
So you don't double check when when we do something to look at to see what's in the bank?
I did through September 30th, but I didn't for October. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
did for September 30th and I didn't have the printout, so I didn't go to double check to in fact to see that it happened.
Well, we didn't cut the checks until October because we didn't have checks to cut checks on. So we only.
No, I understand.
I'll double check tonight before the end of the meeting. We have a
Okay.
couple other financial questions. We have a question about the CarQuest of Lebec. It says it needs invoices. There were no invoices attached. Do we know where those invoices
Correct.
are?
My guess is maybe the guys forgot to give them to us because, you know, they're actually pretty good about giving those to us. So it could be in one of the trucks.
Yeah, well, they get mailed in too. I mean, they get emailed too, and I typically print them. Let me see,
It's
see,
for a
request.
total of
Yeah, I-
165, 68.
68. I can give you the invoice numbers.
All right, let me look right here. All right, what's the invoice number?
41527, 41533.
Okay, hang on one second. Let's do one at a time.
Okay.
Okay, that was for, let's see what it says.
62.
Oh, that was for a charging kit for my air conditioner on my truck, the Freon. And that was on, oh, my phone's messed up.
1010.
This is 9/1/2020.
Well, okay. It says.
Yeah, they were all
Yeah.
they were all dated September 1 or 2.
Yeah, that's correct.
One is correct. And can we just put a note on those? So we need to print out those, Johnny, and we just need a note for what truck number?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. And then there's 41533.
41533.
That's for $16.14.
That's for the trigger gauge that goes with that Freon. They had to order it, so they came in separate. So the same thing.
Okay. And then there's 41578.
Okay.
$22.61.
And that one is for electronic cleaner, a 1/4-inch safety pin for the tow hitch on the dump truck, and the electronic cleaners to clean the plug for the dump truck, and then carb cleaner that's used for cleaning the equipment for the generators and pumps and stuff.
Okay. So could you just print those out and then you can have this and we can attach those invoices to it.
Yeah, I mean, I could send them to you guys right now too, but it's better just to print them out, right?
Yeah, it's better to print them out because.
All right.
Okay, and then a couple more questions. So I'm assuming that when we called about the checks, that it was too late because we ended up paying for 500 checks that I didn't want to do for the.
Yeah, I called them that night and they had already processed it. And in fact, they were shipped out on the 24th, the next day.
Okay, and then question about Bakersfield Well and Pump, Johnny, for Harrison for the booster and pump and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that we weren't paying them for their mistake, but are we paying for their mistake? We have a
What are you talking about? What's the invoice for? I mean, I know it's for Harrison, but it's for the booster, right?
Yes, it's
I don't have it in front of me.
I mean,
It
we got to
says-
pay for the booster.
Yeah, but didn't we
Right.
pay that last month? We paid something last month. Or last payout. We paid a check, I thought, a couple weeks ago. and then you said that you were gonna be, careful because they had made a mistake and you wanted to make sure they weren't charging us for their mistake. I just, Linda, can you?
The last thing we talked about was the fact that they had put in a booster and they wired it backwards, so it spun backwards. And I wanted to make sure that we weren't getting a damaged pump when we were buying a brand new pump head. So I did that. They extended the warranty for 2 years, so instead of 1 year. So that was my main concern with them.
Okay, so then that's fine.
So
I-
yeah, that's 7,506.59.
Yeah, that's for the pump head and all that stuff. So we got a 2 year warranty in writing instead of a 1 year warranty on that booster.
Okay.
And then, ATT, we had some questions on, they charged us late fees twice when I thought the whole reason we were supposed to call them and get one late fee removed, and then they charged us a late fee on the late fee.
Yeah, okay, so the check that, Linda, you had written the check for 53.50. And there was a late charge that you missed last time and you were supposed to call them. And so they got the check for
Yeah,
53.
I cannot call them. They won't let me, we had mentioned that at the last meeting, so, Johnny was gonna do that, but he wasn't able to. He was too busy.
All right, so because we didn't pay the 925, we got charged another $9 for a late payment because we didn't pay the late payment of the late payment. We still need to call them and get something. And when we're paying the $100 to get caught up, but Johnny, we need to call them and they need to credit us something.
I got dropped off part of that, the whole beginning of that. I came in with you very angry about a AT&T bill. I will
Okay.
call them. I've tried to call them twice and I never get a satisfactory answer from them. Have you ever dealt with AT&T? They're horrible, terrible.
And I have a question because now they have an account. We have another plan, another package, because before our bill was $53.50 and now they've added $28 for it says AT&T standard TS 360 package.
I have no idea what that is. I've called repeatedly and get the deal, the promo, and then the promo fails and they don't tell you ahead of time and then you get another bill. It's a constant battle with AT&T to try to stay on top of that shit. And trying to call and spending an hour and a half on the phone is a real pain in the neck when you're trying to handle all the rest of the stuff. So your main complaint right now is the being billed for a late fee, right? Because the way I understood it is the late fee was a late fee because we didn't send them the check on time.
No,
No, that was the month before, so.
that was the month before. They charged us $925 and that one shouldn't have been a late fee, but she only made the check out for $53.50. So they credited that last month's check, but we hadn't paid that one late fee, so we didn't call on that. So now they charge us another late fee on top of that.
Okay,
And how much
Johnny,
is that?
Johnny, is it?
$9 and another $9.25. Plus
Can I
then
just give you $20 instead of spending half my day on talking to AT&T? Because I wouldn't mind, to be honest with you.
Johnny,
so-
can I say something, please? Is
Yeah,
it
of course.
possible to put someone else's name on there instead of your name so someone else could deal with it, like our?
Yeah, I've actually done that. And then when Linda tried to call, she said they wouldn't talk to her. So I need to call again and try to add Tiffany and try to add Linda and anybody else that wants it. But I call them, I tell them, they say, yeah, it's there. And then the next time somebody tries to call, they say, oh, well, we can't talk to you. So yeah, I will definitely add that. I will add multiple people because it would help. So basically in dispute right now is $18.50, right?
well, that plus
20.
now they've added a package of another $28 on there.
Yeah, which that if it's a package, that means that I have to try to get another promo. So that thing every year changes and they never tell you ahead of time on what the package is going to be.
So we're paying the whole thing to be
Yeah.
on time. So
Yeah, no worries. Add contacts. All right, got it. Yeah, it's nobody's fault other than AT&T, but they make it deliberately so painful to call them that nobody does.
No, I understand that. I'm not giving you a hard time, Johnny. I'm just, it's frustrating and I understand you've got a lot going on too, so.
No worries.
A
Okay,
couple questions.
sure, go ahead, Director Schoenberg.
So on USA Blue Book, what are personal lockout kits?
It's not a well, that's how they spelled it out. It's when a pump or a motor or a breaker cabinet fails, whoever deems that it's unsafe, they have to put their own personal lock and their own tag out kit on that. So nobody legally is allowed to go in there and try to work on it without that person's permission. So now we have a toolbox that I showed Brahma. It's got different types of locks for different types of situations. So when something like right now we have the booster houses down at Wolf, we have to lock that out so nobody comes up there and turns on something that's going to take their hand off. Or if a breaker fails, then we lock the breaker out.
Okay.
So
just,
that's what we got now.
Just was curious about that.
Oh yeah.
Now
Okay.
go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna, so the Herc Reynolds, rental, so that's costing us $2,500 a week?
For the generator or for the Mini-X? That's what you got to determine right now.
For 3 generators.
Yeah, because that's when we had the power going out in the whole town. I had to order the generators.
So how long,
that's
how long are we gonna have the generators?
We already returned them. That's
Okay.
the bill for the time that we had them.
Which
Oh,
and
okay,
that's why we're trying to purchase the generators ASAP. So
right,
okay.
no, I understood that, but I knew we've been running generators and I didn't know that we had returned them. So I was worried about us spending that much money every week because we're gonna buy generators.
No, we're running our own now, but and now that needs to be serviced again, and I just got it back 2 weeks ago. So
Okay,
Right.
so,
Why
so,
did quick question, Johnny, did Curtis come up to give us a quote?
no, he came up today to work on Wolf Tank, but I was in a meeting with you guys, the ad hoc meeting, so I wasn't able to talk to him. But he hasn't. Well, he's not giving a quote. He's going to come up and spec out the size of the generator we need, and then I'm going to order them.
That's what I mean. He wasn't able to do that today, or he was?
I was with I was with you guys. I was talking with you guys. I was on the ad hoc meeting when he was there.
Okay, but we didn't ask him to do that. We only asked him to look at Wolf.
I sent the initial email that you seen. Can you spec it out? And next thing I know, he was that he was coming up. I gave him the key to the gate, but I was on the ad hoc with you, so that's all I know.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have.
okay, that's all, that's all I got too. So, okay, with that,
I mean, does anyone else have anything? Did anyone else look at the financials?
Nope, I don't have anything else.
Okay.
okay, so with that, I'll entertain a motion that we pay our bills.
I'll move that we pay our bills.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call of directors, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent, Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Motion carried, 4-0, 1 absent. Okay, oh, and, so Linda, we wish you the best of luck. I mean, we'll be working with you the next 2 weeks, I guess, but,
Well,
Before-
what I told Johnny is I'm gonna be in town for sure the rest of the month. And I can come back on the weekends prior to the board meetings to make sure everything's done and go over anything. And I'm also gonna be available via Zoom, the whole bit. So I'll be available for you guys, whatever you need through the end of November.
and
Oh,
so,
Linda?
so,
I would like to get together with you. We can, I believe, do it by phone conference, but we need to change around a chunk of things that are on the asset list. And I would like
Okay.
to do that with you before a new person comes in, because I don't think they'll have a clue about how to do that.
Okay, we'll be happy to do whatever you need me to do.
Okay, thank you.
And we wish you the best of luck and, you know, I know you have to take care of your family, so that's what's important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, between Mike's heart condition and his legs, the stairs are getting too much for him, but it's mainly the heart condition that's caused us to have to move off the mountain because the elevation is not good for him. So
Yeah. Okay. Where are you moving to?
Mesquite, Nevada.
Oh, okay. Leaving California. Oh, okay. All right. We're on to unfinished business. Discussion vote on Fraser Park Lake of the Wood Consolidation Planning Project.
Do you still need me on the meeting?
I don't believe so. I'm looking down.
I guess we can fill you in on, I mean, there's probably other financial stuff that's gonna come up, but I don't think it's,
Yeah, I don't think she needs to be on here.
oh. Uh,
And Linda, I'll bring your check by later after the meeting.
Super. Thank you. I appreciate it. And if there's anything I need
Oh.
to know, you can let me know then.
okay, if there's a problem with the bank, I will call you, before the end of the meeting.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you,
Thank
Linda.
you.
Okay, discussion vote and update on test well sites.
D.
D Jasper.
Well, let's see, I don't know whether we'll go into the test well bid later, I'm sure. Right now, of course, we have the SEA well site. And Johnny and I have been in contact with Emily and with Jeff. I talked with Jeff about maybe 10 days ago. I talked with Emily, I think last Thursday or Friday, I don't remember. Maybe it might have been Monday. And she was going to review the revised license agreement and then get with Johnny to, if she had no problems with it, get with Johnny and sign it. If she had a problem with it, she was to get with me. And I've not received a call from her, so I would assume there's no problem with it. And
No, there
Johnny-
is, I think there is a problem, Dee, because Johnny wrote an email saying he hasn't heard from her or had any luck when he called her, and he asked you to call.
And then Dee also, and then after that, Dee talked to her. That was part of that conversation. Then I sent an email to her after that. She hasn't responded to the email. Then I called and it said her mailbox was full. So then I sent her a text and I have not heard back from her yet.
So, we're about to award a bid without even having a signed agreement for that test well.
Well, I'm sure it's going to happen. It's just a matter of getting it. But I mean, last I heard, the drilling ain't going to happen until spring anyway. So, I mean, I think we definitely have time to get her to sign it.
That's not what I saw on the emails from Dee.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, Dee's going to update us on that right now.
Yeah, that goes along with the with reviewing the bid, but just real briefly regarding that, what could be done if we're all comfortable with it is we could start the drilling and do the drilling for the test well number 1 right at the end of the month, as soon as if we do award the contract. And we there are some provisions I think that we need to put in place with SEA in order to do this, to start say the 1st of November on drilling this test well number 1. And we'll talk about that, I think, with the bid. But as to the Wainwright property, that in any case, that would be put off until next spring, probably May. What Johnson Drilling has offered is that they would push another well that actually is one that we are, one of our test wells. They would move Fraser Park in front of that test well and do the test well number 1, and then they would have to move off and come back in the spring and at the other test well. And that would be Wainwright.
D, let's move on, or Brahma, let's move, Director Nyman, let's move on to B, and that way we can talk about this, because I think we need to get a little bit of information too on.
Okay.
And no one else, probably some of the other directors, I was the only one at the bid opening, so some of the other directors aren't gonna know what, so D needs to talk about this right now in B.
Okay, on to B, discussion vote on awarding contracting for drilling the test wells.
Well, I sent out a memorandum to the board today, quite late, really, I think around 3 o'clock. I'll review it. We did open bids on October 5th at 3 o'clock. Director Schoenberg was there, the district manager, Johnny Allison, Tiffany was there, and I was there. We had 2 bids. We had 4 contractors who had come to the job box, and we got 2 bids. The other 2 declined to bid. We got one from an outfit out of Signal Hill, ABC Liavin Drilling, and the second one from Johnson Drilling Company of Reedley. The items that we monitor and request be present with the bids accompany both bids. Johnson Drilling bid $261,400. ABC Liavin Drilling bid $234,200. And a bit of comparison is in order. Johnson Drilling qualified their bid, and one of the qualifiers was that they do not normally provide builders all risk insurance, and we're checking that out. I've called our insurance broker, and I believe that is correct. They bid without it. They did bid with insurance, lots of liability insurance. But builders all risk, what I understand, and again, this is preliminary, is basically for constructing things that are that can be destroyed, like framing for houses or anything really above ground. It's for constructing projects, and what we have here is something that is not susceptible to theft or fire or destruction in the way that structures would be. And so whether or not it's needed, I'll do a little bit more research and make a recommendation. They did, Johnson would provide it at an additional cost if we wanted to, if we thought that we needed it. But they did qualify their bid that they do not carry builders all risk. And really the project involves drilling a hole in the ground, putting a casing in it, taking some tests, water quality tests, and then abandoning the hole and leaving the site in the condition that it was before the drilling started. So there's really nothing above ground that can be stolen or destroyed. And all of the contractor's equipment is covered by separate insurance. So all of that, any of that equipment that could be stolen or destroyed is covered by another insurance policy that they carry. that's maybe one issue. I don't think it's a big one, but we'll follow that out in the next couple days, and I'll have a written recommendation for you soon. One just thing aside, and that is normally once a bid is awarded, then the contractor submits to us his bid bonds, his insurance, and a number of other items that are necessary for us that we call for in the bid. And we evaluate that after the bid is awarded. And if there are any issues, we consider them at that point in time, and we resolve those before the contract is signed by the district. And so these things are normally things that we would consider once the bid is awarded. But Johnson wanted to make sure that we understood that they did not carry that insurance because of the type of the work that they do. If we do award to them, we'll follow up on that, and we're going to follow up on it anyway as to whether it's needed.
And Johnson is the most expensive
It
bid.
is.
Dee?
That's correct.
Right, but he's gonna get to that because there's some issues with the other company.
Okay.
The other qualifier that Johnson put on their bid was they could not mobilize until spring 2021 due to winter conditions at Fraser Park. And the reason for that is not because their guys are going to get cold and it's cold up there and they have to work in the snow. The reason for it is that the sampling techniques that they use in order to get water samples out of the casing are subject to freezing. And if they have hard freezes, an occasional freeze, at night's no big deal. But if we get into winter conditions where we have really a lot of freezing temperatures, they can't get their samples. And so that's the issue. And if they can't get the samples, then they can't continue the work until it warms up to the point that it doesn't freeze, it's not freezing. And their equipment, the airlifting equipment and the pumps can go ahead and get those samples. So that's the reason. Curtis and I had conversations with Johnson Drilling about starting well number one, as I've said, moving it in front of another well that they have commitments for. And I had conversations with Dennis Rhodes this morning, and he indicated that they would be willing to start once they're off the project that they are on right now, which is one for us, that's being completed in Arvin. It should be done within about 2 weeks. When they're done there, they have to take their rig and maintain it. They'll take it to the shop for about a week, and then it will be available towards the end of October. And they would be willing to start on that project as soon as the equipment's ready to go. So they could do that. Here's my concern. Our license agreement with SEA states that we will drill the test well in one continuous operation. And that continuous operation starts when we mobilize and we pay the $5,000, and it goes 120 days, and that's the end of that time period that we have to drill the well in according to the agreement. If they start in November and they get into December and they're maybe halfway through the well, and we end up with some really tough winter weather where they can't continue, they have to pull off the job. Well, 120 days ends up in January, and certainly if they pull off the job, we're not going to be able to complete that well within the 120-day period that our license agreement specifies. So if we were to consider moving ahead with the well, starting around November 1st, end of October, I think that we would need a separate agreement with SEA that would agree that with them that if we did have to stop because of winter conditions, that the 120-day requirement would be waived, or it would be stopped at that point, and then it would restart when we were able to reoccupy the well site. I wouldn't want to recommend to the board that we go ahead without having some provisions or some arrangement made in writing with SCA. And I've left a telephone call with Nathan this morning and asked if we could have a conversation about just drilling our well. And, you know, if we were to start, I would want to have a pre-construction meeting with SCA and their local manager, their farm manager, ranch manager, to explain what we're going to do and to outline just what's going to happen on the ranch when we do drill. So that meeting would be serve a double purpose. And I'll call again tomorrow to see if I can get a hold of Nathan and discuss that if indeed the board thinks it's worthwhile to move ahead. That's the condition, that's the situation with SCA. I'll move on to the bids now. There were 2 arithmetic errors on Johnson's bid form. Their numbers totaled $261,400. However, when we do this to every bid that comes in, we go ahead and take the unit values and the amounts that those values apply to, and we multiply them out ourselves, and we make sure that the extensions of that are correct. We found 2 arithmetic errors in Johnson's bid form. Their numbers total $261,400, but they were an error, and when you actually extended those out, the amount was $256,600, you know, around $4,000 less. I notified their office manager this morning that there was this disagreement with the numbers, and she contacted me and apologized for it. She admitted that she had made a mistake and that they would have no problem with the readjusted numbers of $256,600.
Now, Dee, can I ask a question? What is the total amount for the 2 wells that we had budgeted for, because we took out the other well?
240,000.
So they're more than what we have budgeted.
Yes, they're about 7% high.
And on top of that, there's probably going to be change orders if we do, and I don't know how that's going to affect us, because if we do go with them, and they have to remobilize, if we decide that we want to start drilling now in November, and they demobilize and then they come back, or they may even have to demobilize twice if there's winter weather. But if they didn't have to demobilize and they were able to actually complete that test well and get everything done, if we need to drill the second test well, then or if we want to drill the second test well, then they would have to remobilize again in the spring, and so that would be a change order, and that would be an additional cost as well that we aren't for right now.
Correct.
There is still funds available above and beyond the 256,600, right?
Yes, we had budgeted 360,000 for the test well program, and if we only do 2 wells, which we're thinking that's all we're going to do, then we have plenty of money in the budget for test wells. It is over the 240. That's a number that I put together in 2015. So, you know, and when we got our grant, you know, that was one of the arguments that we had with respect to using the old numbers, but we did, and we got enough money in that budget to go ahead and do this project.
Dee, what are your thoughts on waiting and not starting the project in November and waiting till spring for both test wells?
my personal thoughts are, I hate to do that, but the issue is, I think, risk of the items that you discussed, Lisa, that there could be another remobilization cost and some change orders on that. I think a greater concern of mine is working out something with SEA. I don't know that they would be that cooperative. They've been really hesitant to work with us in the past. I'm attempting to do that, again now, and we'll see how that works out. I think from the standpoint of the project moving forward, I would really like to see that very first well drilled. I think that's going to be a major.
But the thing is that, so number one, regardless, we're going to end up with a change order if that well doesn't work out. Because if we drill Saya and we're only going to do the one well, they got to demobilize after they do that one. If that well doesn't pan out, then we're going to have to remobilize in the spring. So that's going to be a change order.
Or even if it does pan out, but we want to check the second. I mean, I'm thinking that we should do a test well on the second one anyway, because even if that well does pan out, we may need a backup well. We don't know at this point. So I kind of hate to see us only drill one well when we have potentially the money to drill. I mean, we're already taking one off the table. So I'd like to at least see us do two, so that if we don't end up using, both for the project, we at least have the knowledge that there is or isn't water that can be obtained from the Wainwright French site in case we need another well for Fraser Park, let alone the Lake of the Woods planning.
But if we're talking about drilling now, what are the chances that if we're not starting till November 1st, what are the chances that we're not going to have snow? I mean, how long does it take to drill a well? It takes what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Oh my goodness. The answer to that really depends on what they drill into. The issue, I think we're looking at 45 days for that particular well. It's about 700 feet deep. It may even be 60 days.
There's a good chance we're gonna end up having to pause because of weather.
It's going to be a gamble, because if you look at the last 10 years, I would bet you that there's only been one time that we got snow and really bad weather on Christmas or by Christmas, and that was last year. But all the rest of the time
We had snow on Thanksgiving last year.
Yeah. 2
Yeah,
feet.
and we also had snow.
Okay, wait. We had very little snow that wouldn't have shut down nothing, is what I'm saying. The
No,
only
we had 3
substantial,
feet at Thanksgiving, Johnny, last year.
that was December. That was Christmas.
No,
It wasn't.
No, it
had
wasn't. There
Thanksgiving
wasn't.
and-
I walked to somebody's house on Thanksgiving. I know how deep the snow was.
And we had
need
snow a
freaking
couple.
weather service. We didn't even get 3 feet in December when we were shut
Yes,
down.
we
for-
did.
We did.
Yes, we did.
All right. Oh, so anyway,
So, and we had snow a couple years before that on December 26th. So it
okay. What I'm saying is he's not talking about a little snow or even some snow. He's talking about frozen hard freeze is what would shut it all down. If there's a day of snow and then 2 days later it's melted off, that's not the same thing as a hard freeze that's going to damage equipment, was all I was pointing out.
Right, but we've also had a couple hard freezes in the years in between those 10 years, Johnny. And
But in 2009, 2010, we had like 6 weeks of frozen temperature. So that none of us can guess this. I'm saying that we have a better odds of it not happening, but it certainly can at this time of the year.
well,
Nobody
here's
knows. Can't predict it.
here's my issue with the gamble. If we're in the middle of doing the test well and we get weather like that where they have to demobilize, it's kind of a problem. I mean, I think I just would not like to see us in the I mean, if it's at the end when they have to clean up or something and we have to demobilize, that's kind of maybe one thing, but I think like right in the middle and having to stop, I don't know. I'm a little leery. I think starting in November, we'll be really lucky if we don't have weather intervene.
Yeah, just for your information, mobilization and demobilization is 35,000 on each well. And I would guess that that would cover remobilizing in the spring for well number 2. It's included in the bid. There might be a little bit more, but probably not. I think we have plenty of budget to do this. However, there is risk, and I think the risk is more from the standpoint of working out something with SEA. I'm not sure that that we're going to be successful there. One thing that would really be really good would be if we were to be able to get that first well done this year. It would move us ahead on the project, but there might be a hiccup, and it would drive the cost up. I don't think it would be an exorbitant cost because they've got pretty good mobilization cost in there already for each one of these wells. But if we had to pull off and then remobilize on the very same well, then you're probably looking at another $30,000 or so for that well to remobilize on that well. And then they would pull off that well and we would go to the second well and pay that $35,000 for that move. So there is a financial risk there. I think that's what this conversation is all about. And that is, do we want to take that risk and move ahead, or do we want to wait till next spring and do this in May?
And I mean, what are the issues? I mean, besides getting SEA to sign off on the fact that we're going to take potentially longer than the 120 days to bring the ground back to where it was before we started. You know, what are the issues that come up if they're right in the middle of drilling? We haven't even gotten through getting water samples yet, and they have to demobilize.
You know, it's the same issue, Lisa. We're just further behind. You know, if they only get down 100 feet or so, and then we end up with a really hard freeze, and it goes on, you know, for a week or two, and you know, we see if it's setting in, they will pull off, and I think it just sets us further behind. I guess the question is, in November, if they got done, you know, substantially done with the well, and things moved along really well, which has never happened, you know, they could be 3/4 of the way done, and we would have to demobilize and remobilize. If we're lucky, with good luck, then they would be able to complete it, and we would have information there that would really help us move ahead with the design process.
But what are the issues with, are there issues with contamination or anything like that? Because we don't have anything in any of this projects for like capping something off or doing, you know, covering something so that it's, because if we're right in the middle of something and we do get weather, then how do you deal with the fact that they've started drilling a hole in the ground?
Oh, they're driving a casing, about an 8-inch casing, down as they go. And so what happens when they stop and have to stop for an extended time, they stop that casing in a silty layer, usually a clay layer. They'll drive it down to that point, stop, and then they'll cut the casing off a little bit above ground level and cap it. And that therefore the hole is sealed and the casing is sealed. It's got a welded cap on it, and it would weather fine, and there would be no risk for contamination. The casing is tight against the hole, and you can't get anything down that hole around the edge of the casing. The hole is actually made by the edge of the casing. They drill in front of it and drive that casing in. So contamination's okay. That wouldn't be a concern. I agree with you, Lisa, that even if we do have a good a good result from well number one, we need to drill well number two, and that would give us good information on both ends of the district, and it would also be good from the standpoint of extending the service on to Lake of the Woods when we finally get to that point. So I agree. We need to do both of those wells.
Yeah.
Well,
And another quick question. I know you talked to Johnson about possibly doing it early and going off of the other project, but if we decide to go ahead and wait until spring, then that isn't a big issue for them. They would just continue on the project that they have lined up, correct?
Correct. They would move ahead. They indicated to me that they were willing to start if we want them to on well number one, if that is the case. I think the other thing that we need to discuss, and maybe with respect to this, is the low bidder, Livin Drilling. They are a new driller. They've been in business for a while, but they have very little experience with casing hammer test wells. They would really like to break into this industry, and hence the low bid that they gave us. Simply, they're buying some experience. They are, I think, a good driller. They have had some one experience with casing hammer test well, and that was had mixed results. On the other two test wells that they gave us as references, let me back up. Johnson Drilling has done this for a long time. They gave us, I think it was 8 references, 6 or 7 references of wells that they had done really since 2017, and basically kind of in our area. They've done 2 in Lebec, and a total of 9 that they gave us as just wells that they would use as references for this type of work for municipal wells. They have done a lot of work for us. They've been working on wells that we have done since 1992. So we have really a long history with that drilling company doing casing hammer test wells. ABC Livin is new to this test well operation, and they gave us 3 test wells as references. One of them was a casing hammer test well. The other 2 were mud rotary, direct rotary wells, which is not what we're asking for. I did talk with hydrogeologists on all 3 of those wells. They've had probably what we could term as learning experiences on those wells. They have had mixed results. Some relative success.
Excuse me, Dee, whoever's talking, please mute yourself.
They've had some relative success and some have not gone so well. So even though they're the low bidder, and I talked with Yvonne Lyavin yesterday on the phone. We had a conversation probably for 45 minutes. And, you know, he's trying to break into this business and doesn't have that much experience. And in my judgment, I would judge that that is not what we need for this type
Exactly.
of operation.
Director Nyman?
Yes, Director Garcia.
I'm after having listened to all of the background between the two companies, I feel that it's in our best interest to go with a solid, tested firm that has done this. The timing, I think it'd be in our best interest to hold off until the spring. We want to give ourselves every opportunity to succeed. We can't take a hiccup. We can't take overruns. We can't take change orders. And we have a good set of plans. There's nothing wrong with them. And once we have them on the mountain, I would like to see them start, continue, finish the first well, move on to the second well without any interruptions, and giving them the best shot at completing those. As we know how our winter fluctuates, that we want to hedge our bet and give them every chance that they can to succeed, so that we in turn will get the best results for our money that we're being spent. A lot of times we like to take the cheapest, but in this instance, the tried and true contractor that Diaz almost 30 years of experience with, I think would be the decision or the choice for us at this time and place.
That's,
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Director Garcia. I'm thinking that what is it, Johnson? Is that who it is, Dee?
yes.
Yeah.
I think that Johnson would probably be the better choice. I'm also in agreement that I know that we have a deadline with the state, but it's going to push things back. But I think that they'll have to extend our contract. I think that we need to make the choice what's best for the district, which I think is not starting until May, till the spring, and doing both like Director Garcia says, because I'm really uncomfortable with just taking the risk. The problems that we've had with SEA, I don't see SEA cooperating with us. Or they're gonna mess around and you know, they don't answer us, they don't get back to us. We've spent a lot of money forcing them into an agreement, and I think that we should hold them to the agreement. And so I don't think that we should take the risk of starting drilling. I think we could award the contract to, if we decide to award it to Johnson, to award it now, and because they said that they would do it in the spring. And that also gives us time to get the contract with Emily ironed out. And so that's kind of where I think, because you know, we do have the budget, but if we have any problems with not being successful on the first two wells, then we're looking at having to do the third well, and then we're not going to have enough money, and then it's going to end up coming out of our pocket, or we're going to have to fight with the state to try to get more money to be able to finish another well. And that one was going to be more expensive because of the location of where it's at. So, you know, and my hope is that, you know, the SEA property works out, and I think it will. However, I think we should wait until the spring. That's my opinion. Anybody else have any thoughts on this? Director Kelly?
Dee, why can't they start like in April, March or April? Does it have to be as late as May?
No, it doesn't. It'll just depend on how they stack their work together in the spring. And what we'll do is we'll agree that, you know, on April, whatever you folks think would be the time that they could safely get up here and not get into, you know, freezing weather. We'll take that time slot and we'll schedule it now so that they can schedule around us in the spring, and we'll have that. So if you think it's April 1st or April 15th, that's fine. You know, I just need to have that date, and then I'll reserve that time slot for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's still a risk in April, but you know, I think it's better than, I mean, typically, you know, December, January, February, and March are, can be really bad. I mean, we've had snow as late as June, you know, but nothing, you know, that deep, I don't think. So, what are your,
Usually later in the year, Director Nyman, we don't get freezes though. We might get a foot of snow, but it's really wet snow. And it's probably snow that they can deal with that, you know, if we do get it, it's usually lasts only a day or two, as opposed to, you know, the kinds of snows we get the rest of the time. But, you know, I'm not adverse to the beginning of May, even though we've gotten snows in May quite a few times, but you know, it's like I said, they're wet snows. In April, it can still be a not such a wet snow.
yeah,
So, but I have a question for Dee in terms of what we need to do to be able to award the higher bid. Is there special paperwork that we have to do? Because normally we choose the lowest one, or what do we need to do if we decide to do that?
I think you just need to award it based on my recommendation that we go with a high bidder for two reasons. One is their level of experience, and the other is I requested additional information from them in order to determine whether or not they had casing hammer test well experience. And I got no response from that request, basically unresponsive. So Livent did not have any further information to give, and they did not respond to that request. We did have a telephone conversation, and it did not add anything to their experience. So basically, you can award it based on your engineer's recommendation and the fact that they have very little experience. And there are provisions in the contract that speak to that. So you're within the provisions of the specifications that this job is being built on.
And just for the director's FYI, the lower bidding company also asked a number of questions, and it was actually cost extra money for us to do another addendum. And that addendum, all that information was in the actual bid package already. So it was kind of like they needed extra, they needed it reiterated at our expense. So I wasn't very happy with that either.
Dave, do you have any thoughts on any of this?
Does the ground freeze up there?
Yes.
No, actually, I grew up in an area where the ground froze in the wintertime. So you had to bury, the pipes had to be 3 feet below the surface.
Yes,
We have had permafrost, like permafrost up here where on the shady side where it stayed for several weeks.
Okay.
It's
And
rare though.
but it's cooler in Lake of the Woods than where you guys are.
Yes.
I mean, it's your call. I would think it would be worthwhile to try to get that going before winter sets in. And I know you folks live up there, you see snow, and I've gone over the grapevine and I happened to hit it Thanksgiving when it had snow. So I guess it's a chance, but I guess I was almost tempted to look and see what's the average temperature range, over each month. You do the climate research that would just show you the average temperature in Fraser Park is the highs and the lows by month, month by month by month.
The averages are not really great to go by, Dave, because we've literally had 7-degree weather in December. It jumps all over the place. And so if you look at the average, it looks like it doesn't really ever go below freezing here, but it does. And
High
we've
or
had
lows, and so then go by high or lows.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've definitely had hard freezes. On years we don't get snow, we sometimes get a hard freeze. So sometimes we don't get snow, but we've had freezes that are really bad here, where it's broken quite a few pipes. So it's a gamble. There's just no way to know. And generally, our very first little hint of weather is usually around Halloween. We don't get much. And then the next time, since I've lived up here, is usually in November, and it's usually somewhere around Thanksgiving. And we can get snow or we can get freezes or whatever. And then December, generally we can either get freezes or snow or both. And then it gets, the worst is usually January and February. But like I said, the last couple years we got stuff early. And then we didn't get it so much late. But it varies every year.
The averages for November and December is high of 62, low of 29. December, high of 54, low of 26. But when you put that in comparison to, say, March or April, and you got a high of 61 and a low of 29, and in April, a low of 32. So it's like you said, it's those months are hard to guess because we get freezing temperatures continually.
Right. You might not have any snow, but you could have just a whole length of
Cold
days that are
snap.
just freezing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like May is probably the best bet.
I know that it may, this whole project's extended way beyond what we wanted it to anyway, and we have a whole lot of other things that we still need to do. But I think we could focus. Just personally, I think we should focus on well 5 right now, because that is in imminent danger of potentially going away, which means that we're gonna have a problem too. And maybe wait till May for doing the test wells, which are
Would that have to be rebid out, right? Right, D?
No, we would just make that a provision in the contract that they would start in May. We said that we would hold bids for 90 days, but in our agreement with them, once we award it, we would set the provision that they actually do their project in May, and they actually, that's what they qualified their bid on. So there wouldn't be any problem extending that till that time.
Perfect.
Just a quick story about permafrost. We did some work in Fairbanks years ago, Fairbanks, Alaska, and one day we were actually taking some pipe out of the ground. They had some pipe failures and we needed to excavate some pipe. And I called the city engineer in April and I said, I'd like a backhoe in May. We need to be up there and we need it for about 2 weeks. And we got to take this pipe out of the ground, see what the problems are with it. And the city engineer said, well, you can't have anything, there are no backhoes available in the first couple of weeks of May. And I said, well, why? And he said, well, that's when we do all the burials. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, everybody that dies over the winter time, once the morgues are all full, we stack them outside because it's 20 degrees below zero, and they stay outside till May 1st. And that's when we bury everybody that died over the winter time.
And luckily, it doesn't get that cold here.
That gave me an idea about how it is to live in Alaska.
It's the burial times are the same in Massachusetts too.
Really? I wouldn't doubt
Yeah,
that.
my mother passed away in March. They weren't able to bury her till after the winter was over.
Yeah.
That's the same in Canada for my grandmother, the same exact scenario as Dave.
Wow.
Well, I guess the question is, do we want to award the bid based on the provision that we start in May? And then that also, of course, we have to review their insurance and all the rest. And then come back to you at the next meeting with a recommendation to, or not to sign the contract.
I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
I move that we award the bid to drill the test wells to ABC Liven.
No,
no,
no.
I'm
No.
sorry. I'm sorry. I said that completely opposite. I want to put it Johnson, the higher of the two bids based on our engineer's recommendation.
and
To start when?
Oh, and to be started in May or when the conditions allow.
2021.
Correct.
do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Director Kelling seconded it. A roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent. Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried 4-0-1, one absent. Okay. C, discussion vote on environmental package for the test wells. I think that's you, Dave.
Can I just say one thing back on A?
Yes, Director Schoenberg.
We're going to really pursue those still, like get on the Wainwright French, even though we have more time. I don't want, just because we have more time, for us to get lax with them signing that agreement.
No, I'm gonna continue and to get that signed, it's become a mission now of mine.
And I had a question. D, will this require some additional negotiations and discussions
Awesome.
with any of the test well site owners?
You know,
No, that's why we voted.
we'll just send out a letter that informing them that, you know, we are targeting a start around May of 2021. Our agreement with both of them, with Wainwright, is 2 years, and with SEA is 5 years. So we have that much time to start. But as a courtesy, we'll send a letter out.
But yeah, Dave, it would be the opposite. We'd have to do all kinds of negotiation with SEA. If we had voted the other way, we would have to get them to change the agreement, and it was so hard to just get them to sign. I don't think that would have been a good idea.
Yeah, understood. Thank you.
Then
Okay.
with Wainwright and French, we can already just tell them that, you know, we're looking at a start date of May 21.
Well, we don't want to tell them that until we get the agreement signed.
No, but that's
Thank
what I'm
you.
saying.
Yeah.
I mean,
We have to get the agreement signed, and then we'll inform them of when we want
right,
to possibly go onto their property, because
Right.
we don't want them thinking, oh, well, we can wait another month or another 3 months before we sign an agreement.
Right, Dee, so can you
That's
hold,
not the case.
can you hold off on sending any letter until we have a signed agreement?
Yeah, no problem, no problem.
Okay. Okay, on to C, discussion vote on environmental package for the test wells. That's Dave Warner.
Yeah, what you folks have is the Tom Dodson's notice of exemptions for the test well work. And it is ready for board action. I would recommend that the board take action on that notice of exemption and have it filed with the county clerk and the state clearinghouse.
Okay, this is what's in front of us right now, the packet that I have,
Yes.
and it's, okay, it's site specific.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll entertain a motion, that we, file the notice of exemption.
I'll make that motion. I move that we file the notice of exemption with the county recorder and also the state clearinghouse.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Director Kelling has seconded that. Okay, roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent. Sorry, I went out of order. Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
aye.
Okay, motion carried 401. And so who will file this exemption, Dave?
Johnny used to. If
Johnny
somebody's going to
will?
Bakersfield.
Yeah, if you could help me with the paperwork like normal, Dave,
Sure.
send it to me. Yeah, I'll be happy to take it down and file it.
Okay, yeah, you'd file one with the county clerk, and then the second we can just be filed online.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if you help me with that, I'll do it.
Sure.
Okay. All righty, moving right along. 10, discussion vote on well 5 emergency replacement.
Is there any discussion? Is there any ability to discuss some changes, numbers, or I can wait next week with you folks on the numbers for the pre-construction work on the test wells?
Well, we need to go back to item 9 if we're discussing the test wells.
Okay, we're going back to number 9. Okay, what do we need to do, Dave?
You folks had sent in some revised numbers for the budget that would pay for title reports that would come out of the planning funds. And we had we're sending in a request to the state to ask for additional money to pay for engineering, test well surveying, and legal work from self-help's fund of money. And I found that we had $9,500 in a contract with D for test well services. So I'm proposing that we pay the $2,099 that has been charged for test well services that would go out of the planning project, that the self-help TA money would pay for that. I'm also proposing.
We already talked about that, Dave, because we already paid for some of that title work on the checks we just cut for today, and we were assuming that came out of the TA funds per our conversation when we were going over it with the ad hoc.
Okay, then I'm just letting you know that then I'm going to request from D, we can modify his contract so I can pay the balance of that money that's in that contract that was dedicated to.
But you'll be paying that back to us.
Right. I just need to get his, reference in an email that yes, he agrees to modification of our agreement, and that money would come back to you, subject to evidence that, the bills that you folks paid, I can attach it to my RFP and we can get a check to you folks.
Right, because one of them we have already cut, which is the I don't have that in front of me, but I believe we already cut one of the checks cut was for title stuff.
Hold on, I'll get it. Just a second.
Where are you? Where are you, baby?
Okay,
Come on.
all right, that check, Dave, that was invoice 20-08061A
Yep.
for 2,643.50. And
here.
I know that, let me look at.
Jerry,
So-
can you mute?
So on that invoice is the 2,099. I mean, there
Yeah.
was two other items on that invoice that brought it to 2,643. So we're paying this invoice. And that's where that title reports was billed. And that's what we're paying now that you already have money for, that you would request that Dee would send you that email and we'll get that corrected.
Yeah, and that's something more immediate. The other thing is that would probably reduce our request to the state for the additional, some of the additional engineering work. And we did have a conversation with the state Monday about the Fraser Park, last week on the Fraser Park work request. They've asked me to update the numbers based on these recent changes. So they're looking at it. Thank you.
But you already have that money for that
We-
particular one.
Right. There's about $7,401 left over.
So when he sends you the email, you're gonna just cut us a check for 2,099, and then the balance of that money, are you gonna request to change that to
Engineering,
engineering?
which then I could
Then you
pay
could reimburse us whatever's
For-
left on that.
for a number of other, other
Okay.
work until such time as they allow us to add more money for other costs, including engineering to the contract, to the
Right,
work plan.
Right. Okay,
Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
that's fine. It's better we have it all clear. On to 10, discussion vote on well number 5 emergency replacement project. A discussion vote, update funding application. So we've all,
So-
go ahead, Director Schoenberg.
Yeah, 10A, we could talk about a little bit here, but it really needs to be addressed on 11A to see if we want to add the well 5. So I think as far as the funding application, we discontinued. We motioned already previously to discontinue our funding application with the federal government, with USDA, and so that was discontinued. We do have that letter I sent in, and we are looking for funding elsewhere as well. So it's really a question, and I guess we need to address that in a minute on 11. It's really a question of whether we want to add it to the project and still try to seek funding, or whether we want to try to seek funding without adding to the project, or whether we do both. So
Okay, so on B, vote on amended PER. We're not gonna amend the PR at this point until we get on, until we we need the requirements from Oscar as far as what Lawrence needs for that application.
right, he does need a PER, which we have quite a bit done on it, but we definitely need to amend it before we send it to the state. There was a whole bunch of information added to it that we don't want on there, and there was we still weren't quite done with it for the USDA. I mean, we had there financially things have changed considerably. All the other information on the PER though is valid.
So we would update with the 2020 figures. Is that,
Yeah, I think we would need to do that and just discuss a little, we need to look it over again, but I looked it over the other day and it seemed, I took some of the information from the PER for the
for the letter?
wrote, yeah. So I think, there's a lot of it's pretty close. So we just need to probably take another pass at it before it goes to the state with amended numbers.
Okay. So 11, let's move on to 11. Discussion vote update on meter replacement project application. Is there anything that we need?
So, so this is the resolution. So A is the, there's a resolution that Tiffany and I worked on that, and some other with, again, Dave weighing in on. And, so we just need to decide. I mean, we can go over that resolution and read it. There's some kind of,
I can't hear you, Lisa.
yeah, it's because there's some kind of sound that's going on. I don't know what that is. It's not on my end. I don't. Can you hear me?
It's Oscar. Oscar, can you mute yourself?
No, I was muted.
No, you weren't. You're not, you weren't muted, but okay. I can hear you now, Lisa. The sound's gone away.
Okay. So, so I think the first thing we need to do is before we even discuss, I mean, we can discuss it as part of the resolution, but we need to decide before we vote on the resolution, we need to have a discussion about whether we really want to add the well number 5 project to the meter projects. The pros for that are that if the well holds out, the pro is that we would maybe be able to push along the meter replacement project because the well is in more imminent need of replacement than the meter. So Lawrence Sanchez was suggesting that if we put them together, it may actually help us with the meter end of the project. My concern is that the well could potentially give out way before we get funding because it's notoriously slow, although it's on his desk right now. But there's still there's all kinds of other stuff we need to submit on the application before we even have the agreement with them. However, we're also going to talk to Joe Karkowski. I almost think that we should wait on this resolution until we've talked to, I don't know. I don't know if we should wait until we've talked to Joe Karkowski or we should go ahead and vote on it. It is possible to also decide to pull it off of the application should there be a need to pull it off and to either pay the money, I don't know, somehow out of pocket. We don't really have quite enough to pay it completely out of pocket, but we I don't know. So there is a way to pull it back off of the application. We discussed that with Lawrence. So I don't know if we should go ahead.
If I can interrupt.
Yes, go ahead.
I recall Lawrence saying that it was more difficult to pull it off of it than to add it to it. So once it's added there, it can be pulled off. He just indicated that it would be a little bit trickier to do so.
No, it was the opposite.
Just
it was more difficult to add it off. In my recollection. I don't know, Director Nyman, do you or Dave, do you recollect? I understood that it's easier to pull it off of the application than all the things we need to put it on the application.
That was my understanding. That was my understanding too.
So Oscar, I think you have it turned around.
He's in a car on the phone.
I would recommend that we add it on there. Nothing could happen until
spring anyway, it's looking like, as far as for drilling it. And maybe between now and spring, we'll get a definitive answer if they're gonna fund it or not.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement. If everyone's of the understanding that it's not horrible to pull it off. And the other thing that Lawrence was saying, and when we talked to Joe Karkowski, we can kind of ask him about that as well, is that if it fails before the funding, it may be, because it's already a project with the state, it may be a little bit easier to get emergency funding when it fails, because we've already, we're already in the process, we already have an application. And if we had to get money from our representatives, like some kind of critical money, it may be easier to get that as well, because it's already a project with the state. Although it may be the opposite, because they've kind of stopped talking to me ever since Lawrence told us to add it to the, sent all the information to them about us adding it to the project. So I think it would warrant another call to the representatives, but I'm kind of the thought that if it's at least on the project, that if it fails before we get, if it starts failing to where we have no money for it, and we're already signed up with the project, that it's probably easier for us to get emergency funds.
Yeah. And Lawrence is actually working very fast on this application. I've been impressed with his communication with Oscar. This is what I need. Here's, he's been very responsive.
Yes, and he's CCing our state representatives every time he sends anything to us. So I think that it's helpful that they're questioning what's going on with it as well. And I think we made a good case so far for what the issues are. So yeah, so I mean, I guess if we want to read through the resolution, it sounds like we're willing to go through the resolution. And
Okay, you want to read that? Or do you-
sure, I can. Let me find here in my. Okay. Oops, that's the wrong one. Okay. So, before the Board of Directors of the Fraser Park Public Utility District, resolution number FP 2020-100801, in the matter of resolution by the governing body of Fraser Park Public Utility District to amend an application and previous resolution FP 2019-09-2601 for Fraser Park Public Utility District meter and valve installation. This amendment to add well number 5 replacement to the project, and designating a representative to provide additional documents and sign the amendment thereto under Drinking Water State Revolving Fund DWSRF construction. Whereas the board authorizes Fraser Park Public Utility District to amend a Fraser Park Public Utility District meter and valve installation application and previous resolution FP 2019-09-2601, and whereas Fraser Park Public Utility District is needing to add well number 5 replacement to the Fraser Park Public Utility District meter and valve installation application, resolved by the Board of Directors of the Fraser Park Public Utility District, the entity, as follows. The President of the Board of Directors, the authorized representative or designee, is hereby authorized and directed to sign and file for and on behalf of the entity an amendment to the financial assistance application for a financing agreement from the State Water Resources Control Board for the planning, design, and construction of meter replacement, adding well number 5 replacement to the project. This authorized representative or his/her designee is designated to provide the assurances, certifications, and commitments required for the financial assistance application and agreement, including executing an amendment to the financial assistance application from the State Water Resources Control Board and any required amendments or changes thereto. The authorized representative or his/her designee is designated to represent the entity in carrying out the entity's responsibilities as the financing agreement, including certifying disbursement requests on behalf of the entity and compliance with applicable state and federal laws. Further resolved that this resolution, FP 2020-100801, serves as authorization for an amendment to Resolution FP 2019-09-2601, passed and adopted by the FPPUD Board of Directors regarding authorization for a financial assistance application for the meter replacement project effective September 26, 2019, and adds the amendment for well number 5 replacement, authorizing other documents as may be needed for the project application effective October 8, 2020. So that's the resolution, and then we just need a motion. So I'm gonna move that we adopt this resolution number FP 2020-100801 tonight.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Director Kelly seconded. Roll call of directors, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent, Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Motion carried, 401 absent. Okay, moving right along. 12, discussion vote on pipeline work on Manita Trail. Right on.
Brahma, can we go back to 11?
Okay, let's go back to 11.
I just have
All
a
right.
question.
Sure.
Or do you want me to reach out to Lawrence to set up the call with Mr. Karkowski, or do you guys want to wait on that?
I'd like to set up that call because I think that we want to talk to him about, our fear that the well is going to fail, give him the letter that we gave to Lawrence and the representatives and discuss with him our fear that the well may fail before we are able to get money for this project, and see if there's some way to move it along or what we should do so that, and we can send him this resolution as we have everything signed. So yeah, I think we can reach out to him. We just have to figure out a couple of different dates because we have a whole bunch coming up next week.
Yes, so if you could set up that call, Oscar.
But give us a couple of dates, Oscar.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if, let me just look quickly. I mean, are you thinking, well, we don't know how soon he's available, but I don't know what
Really, I'm available the whole week of the 19th.
And the real problem is getting the availability of Lawrence and Joe.
Right.
As well as us. So we need to just start off with just how soon can we do it and take it from there?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna tell you that I have a lot of appointments, so I may not be present at that, so we'll see.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying next week I have a lot of things going on. We have a lot of appointments. I have a lot of different appointments.
Well, we're still gonna try to work it so you two can be there on the call. So,
Yeah.
but let's see what his schedule's like. He might not be available for a week either.
Well, he may be available the same day we normally do the Fraser Park call because Lawrence is on that call. So I would try to do it maybe for right after that call if it's possible on the
Well,
15th.
you would have to stay on because I have to leave by noon. I have an appointment down in the valley.
Or beforehand. So that's one date, the 15th, maybe in the morning, first thing in the morning.
Yeah, like the 15th, like 8 or 9 o'clock before the
Lawrence-
conference call.
Yeah, Lawrence is on the call at 10 by 10, so hopefully maybe he's free before then. Also Friday the 16th, I have nothing. So if
Yeah,
that's,
I'm open on Friday the 16th.
and Thursday and Friday, that's 22nd and 23rd are good for me.
Me too.
Okay, I wrote these dates down and I mean, we could ask.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks, Oscar.
All right, thank you. 12, discussion vote on pipeline work on Manita Trail.
All right, so on Manita Trail, I've proven that there's already a 6-inch T900 line on that trail. We could use it as a water source for the people that are off of the steel lines. I got a PSI test that I've been going over with D. At the same time on Manita Trail, we also proved the same thing on Oregon Trail and also proved the same thing on Logan Trail today. So we have 3 of some of our worst areas that we're just going to have to do changeovers and then abandon the old steel pipes. So we're still working on it. I got to get with D after I get the last 2 trails potholed, and then I'll work with D, and then we'll see, where we go from there.
Okay, I just want to say that we made sure that there was money set aside. So if the board's okay with it, I would recommend that anything like that we can move ahead with now while we're waiting to do the test wells, we should, try to move on. So there's a couple different things that I think we should try to move on, but we have money set aside right now for pipeline work.
Okay,
I
but we
agree
need
with
to,
that,
we need to get some costs on that, what that's gonna cost to tie
Oh, no,
in.
well, one of the things is there's going to be a cost for, I'm gonna have D, he was trying to make it to where he didn't have to charge us for this, but there's going to be a little bit of drawing and engineering he's going to have to do, specking out a pressure reducer and the meter box and stuff like that. So once I get the information to D, there'll be some fee, some charge there for D to draw it up, so then we can put it out to bid. And
Okay.
and then with the bid, obviously before we go to, do anything with the bids, it'll be coming back to the board for you guys to approve it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Right, so I'd like to move that we go ahead and ask our engineer to do the work needed so that we can move forward on the pipeline work on, as many trails as we're able to do before winter hits completely. And I also, as part of that motion, would like to get approval for D to start putting together a map of our pipelines, which, where we're trying to consolidate things. So to get us a cost on that and to start receiving information that he could use to put together a map as we go along.
And that is an awesome idea, because I have a lot of information now I could start giving to D to start putting on maps.
do I
I'll
hear,
second that.
okay, Director Garcia has seconded that. Roll call of directors, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent, Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Nyman is an aye, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Motion carried, 4-0-1 absent. Okay. 13, discussion vote on this district truck repairs.
We can remove that from the agenda. I forgot to remove it before we put it out.
Okay, great, moving right along. Number 14, discussion vote on emergency repairs to Wolf Booster and Tank Site.
Yeah, where are we at on that?
So we have, are we gonna read we have a letter written by our attorney that needs to be read and voted, as part of voting on this. Do you have, I think that's under this.
I have the letter. Do you want me to read it?
Please.
And just to give the background to the rest of the board, the reason is we don't want to have to go out to bid because it's an emergency, and this is the step we have to take to declare, for you guys to declare that it really is an emergency to get it done.
And it's also a 4/5 vote, so it needs to be pretty much for this to go forward, it needs to be a unanimous vote. Since we're missing a director. And also, just so you know, just a little background, but there's background in the letter as well, but it is.
Box spoken feedback.
What?
Nothing. Go ahead, Director Schoenberg.
Okay, so, yeah, it's, right now, the site is, fairly exposed, and so there are issues with waiting too long on this. So I think, just to
All
give you
right,
some more.
well, okay, so let me read this letter. Conditions leading up to the declaration of an emergency at the Wolf Pumping Plant. The Wolf Tank and the pumping plant is located at the top of a steep hill with residential properties immediately below the tank. The Wolf Tank holds about 200,000 gallons of water. The district relies on the Wolf Tank and pumping plants to provide domestic water supplies to 203 connections within the district service area. In early summer, a pipe broke at the Wolf Tank pumping plant. It caused damage to residential properties immediately downhill from the plant. There were repair claims against the district from several of these properties that have since been settled by the district insurance carrier. In light of this pipeline failure, the district determined that inspection of additional pipelines and other facility opportunity, I can't say that word,
Appurtenance.
pertinent to the tank and plant was prudent and necessary. If another pipe fails at the pumping plant, the tank could be drained and severe damage will be done to the houses immediately downhill from the plant. The district located the underground piping at the plant in order to determine the pipe routing and condition of the piping at the plant and immediately downhill from the plant. There are no as-built plans. The Wolf Tank is a relatively new tank. It replaced the old tank about 15 years ago, but the old pumping plant was left untouched. It is composed of two centrifugal
Thank you.
pumps, centrifugal pumps that are supplied by a bare steel underground piping from the Wolf Tank. The underground piping has never been exposed. Over the summer, several unsuccessful attempts were made to locate this pipe with the district's underground pipeline locator. These attempts were unsuccessful. The district then hired a plumbing contractor to excavate the piping. The excavation revealed that the existing piping was badly corroded and in a general state of disrepair. One of the pipes is now leaking and it is likely that it will soon fail. The excavations have left very little room to work as the pumping plant is near the edge of the hill. Replacement plans are now being drawn up to put all plant piping above ground and cover it with a weatherproof structure to keep it from freezing. Critical facilities are already exposed to the elements, rendering the need for repairs in an urgent manner. Compounding the urgency is that the winter weather is about to set in, at which time access to the plant will be limited. Access to the plant once it starts raining will be very difficult, if not impossible, due to the steep terrain and narrow roads. Under normal circumstances, the district would be required under the Public Contract Code to publicly bid the necessary pipeline repair work. However, the code authorizes the district to forego the public bidding process in the event of an emergency. The code defines an emergency as a sudden unexpected occurrence that poses a clear and imminent danger requiring immediate action to prevent or mitigate the loss or impairment of, among other things, essential public services. The district may repair or replace the public facility, take any directly related and immediate action required by that emergency, and procure the necessary equipment, services, and supplies for those purposes without giving notices for bids to the let contracts. The current condition of the pipeline could not have been foreseen with any certainty. Prior to the pipeline rupture over the summer, there was no reason to suspect the pipeline was compromised. Having confirmed pursuant to the inspection that the pipeline is compromised, the district suddenly and unexpectedly finds itself having to perform considerable repairs in a short amount of time while the facilities are still accessible. These repairs are urgently needed to enable the district to properly administer its public water service obligations. If the district publicly bids this work with the additional time required to procure the services will come at the expense of its public water project and the district's customers who rely on it. The district therefore recommends that the board avail itself of its authority under the Public Contract Code to deem that an emergency exists consistent with the definition I previously quoted. In doing so, we advise the board that in making such a finding, each member must do so based on substantial evidence before it that demonstrates that the emergency will not permit a delay resulting from a competitive solicitation for bids, and that the action is necessary to respond to the emergencies. At this time, staff and legal counsel are prepared to address questions or concerns of the board. If following discussions, the chair entertains a motion to proceed as recommended, we suggest a roll call vote to be taken so that the record will reflect whether the emergency determination garnered the 4/5 vote of the board as required under the Public Contract Code. This statement and the ensuing discussion will be reflected in the minutes of this meeting as required by the Public Contract Code. And then it's, approval if it's yes or no, authorization of the contract. District staff recommends that the board chair consider a second motion authorizing the district's engineer to seek a written proposal for cost and timing schedule for a contract for pipeline repairs associated with the Wolf Tank and pumping plant. If reasonable, the district engineer and the district managers are authorized to approve and award such contract. So.
I'm, if it's correct, and I'd like to move that we declare an emergency situation at the Wolf Tank and proceed with the plans and recommendations of our engineer to repair to make the necessary repairs to keep it from failing even further.
Do I hear a second?
Is everybody muted? Lisa?
I'll second that.
Okay, Director Schoenberg has seconded the motion. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent. Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Motion carried, 4-0-1 absent. And, okay, are we going to consider a motion authorizing the district engineer to seek a written proposal? Somebody want to read that and make a motion on that? Hello?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
It's at the bottom of the page, on the back of the page.
I dropped the, you have it in front of you, Jerry?
Oh, here we go.
I have it now.
Authorization to contract.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. The district staff recommends that the board chair consider a second motion authorizing the district's engineer to see the written proposal. Okay, I move that we authorize the district. Hello?
Hello, whoever's talking while we're having a meeting, they need to mute themselves.
Okay, I move that we authorize D. Jasper, our engineer, to seek a written proposal for the cost, timing, and schedule for a contract for the repairs associated with Wolf Tank and the pumping plant,
And
approve and award a contract to
if reasonable, yeah. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Director Kelling has seconded it. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson is absent. Director Kelling.
Aye.
Director Nyman is aye. Director Schoenberg. Director Schoenberg.
I'm an aye, but I want to make sure that that wording is correct on the motion. Because what it's saying is if reasonable, that the engineer and the district's manager are authorized to approve and award the contract. It doesn't need to come back before the board.
Do you accept that friendly amendment, Director Garcia?
Yes.
Do you accept that, Director Kelling?
Yes.
Okay, then motion carried, 401, one absent. Okay. 15, discussion vote on quote for portable load bank for the generator.
Okay, I'm gonna recommend that we remove this item now, and I'll tell you why. Our generator's just too big, to even rent out. When we buy another portable, then we could revisit that idea, but we just had it put under load, which is a load bank. When I had it serviced 2 weeks ago, we had to run it basically 6 days, 2 weekends in a row, and it's already throwing up that it's wet stacking again, so it would need to be put under another load bank, another load, and so it's just not practical for small single wells. So I'm recommending we just remove this from the agenda.
Okay. All righty.
Well, I'd like to move that we table it until we need it to come back up again.
Well,
the thing is, it doesn't do any good to table it, because once we get another generator that we are willing to rent out, that's not going to wet stack after only 3 days or 4 days, we won't need the load bank because we won't be having that issue.
Right, but unless we're selling this portable load, I mean, that's fine as long as we don't just like let the other generators sit and say, anyway, it's fine. We can take it off for now, but I need people to remember
Yeah,
about.
we'll have to revisit this whole issue and put something back on whether we're going to sell this generator or what we're going to do with it. So
yeah, and it's the same issue for number 16. So
yeah,
that's
yeah. Sorry, Pam. Okay.
It's okay. I forgive you guys.
17, discussion vote on application for water service APN 255-520-02. Discussion vote on modifying the district sphere of influence. Didn't we already?
Well, we need to go forward on that. So we need D to fix the map for us so that we can move forward on it.
Well, I mean, the question is, we provided them with the will serve, but we haven't heard back from the La Focas of whether their escrow is extended and whether they want to go forward.
Well, that's true, and I'd like to give an update on that. Is I believe what Lisa's going for is, even if the La Focus chose not to do that, the next person who does buy it may choose to do so. And I recently found out that we believe that Sigmund Lichter actually still owns the majority of that ranch, at least according to the caretaker that I spoke to the other day. So I'm going to try to approach him again and see if he wants to join in. So I could do that early next week, and then have Dee go ahead and redraw that sphere of influence.
Right, and we also need to look at the SAIA still without, just see how far it extends currently and what, if anything, we can do about that. And I think we were also going to, on the other end, at the French Wainwright property, up to the French Wainwright property. So, and we were also looking at, there were some issues with the map when we looked at the map previously with the there were some questionable, there was like some weird, it wasn't drawn correctly, basically. There was a street that was missing, the street that goes up by the fire station. The fire station would not be on there because I believe that's on forest property, but the house that's on that street was not drawn in correctly, I don't think. So we just need to look at that. And I believe we already voted on it, but we just need to move forward on mapping so that we can submit a correct map to the to LAFCO.
Okay. So
Is that
we
correct,
don't,
Tiffany? We actually had a motion already on that, correct? On moving forward?
I
Yeah,
believe
you
that's
did.
correct.
Yeah, it's in the minutes.
Okay.
okay, so, B, we already voted and we gave a conditional
Yeah.
will serve letter.
I'm gonna
Uh,
pull that letter up right now. Hold on.
Well, yeah, and I sent that, and then as you guys seen, I followed up, I believe yesterday or the day before, and they're not even responding.
So, so I don't know if anyone wants to read this, but we basically sent a letter, conditional will serve. Again, it went back and forth quite a bit with between all of the different people we work with, saying that we would be able to provide water based on a couple of
caveats.
caveats, yes. So and one was added that the board doesn't know about, and I think it might be a sticking point with them, but we'll see. But A was approval of the expanded district sphere of influence and the subsequent annexation of the affected real property by the district's board of directors in accordance with the district's adopted annexation policy and contingent upon completion of the annexation of the real property into the district service boundary through the Kern County Local Agency Formation Commission, LAFCO. Inclusion of the real property within the district's service area will be at the applicant's sole cost and expense unless the district's board agrees to share the cost. B, the drilling and final system placement online of well number 7, which is the replacement well for well number 5, unit until well number 7 is operational, the district will not have enough capacity to meet current water demands. C, confirmation of a valid building permit for the subject property. And D, completion of a hydraulic analysis of the proposed project, which we had not talked to them about, signed by the district engineer, verifying the capability of the district's water system to supply water to the property. This analysis will contain any special conditions relating to providing water service to said property. The cost of said analysis shall be borne solely by the applicant. The reason why Jasper included that is that they really haven't given us, they've only given us like a preliminary layout. We don't have plans. We don't really have anything that's legal. And so I think that was to protect us from, if the project changes, because they really haven't provided us with all the documentation we would need. So he wants to make sure that whatever they provide, that he's able to analyze that and make sure that we're able to provide water.
Okay.
So we sent, so then there was, just some other wording in there, but basically that was, so it's like a 3-page letter, so it's pretty hefty. But this was sent to them and they haven't responded. So, and I think later on, you'll see there's another item, which we'll talk about this later on, but I recommended that we add to the agenda another item later on that deals with will serve letters, because we have not had a will serve letter, which we'll bring up when we get to item 19.
Okay. And, so,
And again, I guess if anyone wants that letter, I can send a copy of it, or I'll probably send copies of this stuff because Tiffany needs them in her, if she doesn't already have them in her file.
okay, C, discussion vote on modified MSR. We have to wait.
Yeah, we need the sphere of influence map, and then we can work on a modified MSR for that. We need the
Okay.
MSR before we can annex.
Right, well, yeah, and that, I mean, that's not something that we need to do right away. The sphere of influence map can be submitted,
Correct.
so, okay.
uh,
Yes, Director D,
I had some conversations with Blair Knox today, and I just wanted to get it square in my thinking as to what we needed to do with respect to the sphere of influence map. And, I think once we define where we want to put the boundary, I think it's going to be a pretty simple thing to do. But one of the things that will be required by LAFCO, I think you mentioned it, was that the MSR will need to be updated, reflecting that sphere of influence before that sphere of influence will be approved by LAFCO.
Right. So, but I think we need the map. I mean, I think we need a step at a time. So I think we need the map first. And I believe we already voted on modifying the map, so that motion has already been approved. So we just need to move forward on that. And then we can deal with the modification of the MSR.
I agree. I just need a good, I need to know exactly where we want to put that boundary, and then we'll prepare the map. I just don't want to leave anything out. So I'll meet with Johnny, I guess maybe that might be the best thing. And we'll, I think what we'll do is we'll outline a boundary based on the mapping that we currently have, and then issue it to the board and make sure that the board's okay with where that boundary is. And
I'd
this
like
is
to be part of that, D, before you issue that. So any meetings that you're doing, so that we're not, doing multiple maps again.
Yes.
I think you can do that with the project ad hoc.
Yes, that would be good. Perfect.
okay. D, discussion vote on policy and procedures for annexation. don't-
I think we need to table that until we've moved forward on these other, we don't have a policy per se. There are procedures for it, but we need to move, like I said, one step at a time. So we need the sphere of influence map first. Then we need to get the MSR done, and then we need probably a policy in terms of annexation.
So if we're gonna table, let's table it.
Yeah, but I don't know when we're tabling it until I think if we can just keep it on the meeting agendas and just table it for today.
Okay, so we can move on. All right, do we want to take a short recess?
Negative.
I am gonna ask, it's driving me crazy how much noise there is today on the meeting. I don't know, Tiffany, if you can, you can, as the administrator of this platform, you can mute people yourself when they're not muted. So if you look at the participants and you see that other people are making noise when they shouldn't be, you can mute them, and then they'll have to unmute themselves.
Okay, I've done that a couple of times. I'm just very sparingly.
I believe the part of it is just when people are speaking, there's background noise when they're speaking coming from outside their houses, since everybody's calling in from home now.
Oh, my dogs were outside barking, sorry.
That's what I meant. No big deal.
Okay, move on to 18, discussion vote on purchasing an additional truck SUV for the FPPUD.
Yeah, the reason I put that on there is because it's been brought up a couple times, and it's a very valid point that we got 3 people working in the field right now. We only got 2 trucks with heaters that could be driven. We're gonna have potentially another guy that comes back, and with COVID going on, especially, we can't be having people riding 2 per truck, although we've had to do that. But we have one guy driving a open cab Polaris right now every day. So there's one aspect. The other aspect is since we bought the small Toyota trucks, we don't have anything that's really viable for towing. So I think we need to get a 3/4 ton or maybe even a 1 ton 4-wheel drive that's going to be able to tow things around, like the skid steer and a mini X and a generator and stuff like that, without having to use the big dump truck that's hard to see out of and back up.
Okay, any discussion on this?
Do we have any quotes?
No, I wouldn't get them until there was a unanimous decision that that's something that we need to do and pursue. Otherwise, I'm not going to, because it takes a while to go down and get, quotes from dealers and stuff.
Question.
Okay,
ahead.
Director Schoenberg first, and then Director Garcia.
Well, I was gonna make a motion. So Garcia, do you have a discussion item?
Well, yes, I do. We're, as I understand it, we're renting a truck, a third or fourth truck right now. Is that correct?
No, we have 3 trucks and one of them was being rented because the one assigned to me was in the body shop. So now that's been returned and we're back to just 3 trucks.
Okay, did we get the window fixed on the one that's had tape on it for a couple months now?
No, we can't get nobody to come up here and we can't ride 2 per cab to get it down to a glass place. We have to be able to take it down and have it repaired, and we haven't had time to do that, or the personnel to do it, chasing all these leaks and work orders.
Wow, that's sad.
Well, everybody
Looks like hell.
Everybody that used to come up here all the time refuses to come up here now to do window glass.
What about the body shop in Lebec? They can't order it for you?
Well, I suppose they might be able to order. I haven't even checked that, because typically they just refer you to the window glass people.
I'm sure they got to use somebody.
Yeah, and again, the body shop the last time recommended the people that I tried to call. I forget their name now, but they came up and they replaced the windows. But once COVID hit, they stopped coming up here.
Oh, okay. I wasn't putting together the COVID thing. Okay.
Johnny, did you ever call Fast Auto on that?
No, I haven't. And again, the issue has been we've had no time. The work orders, we've had 300 and something work orders this month. So plus I got to let somebody drive my truck while I take that truck down. And then my truck has to be decontaminated in order to do that, for them to drive that. And then I have to drive it down and spend, 3 hours or whatever it is to get the window put in. So it just hasn't been my priority at this point.
I do believe that they are starting to come back up. I've been seeing ads for at least what's the they're a little bit more expensive, but it's the one that's used to come up here all the time. I can't think of their name right now. Anyway, they keep doing ads now for contactless glass repair, where you leave the key, you leave the vehicle.
They advertise for that, and even when you Google it, they come up with these suggestions, and then you call them and they say, no, we are not going up there.
Yeah, that happened to a friend of mine. He needed a windshield replaced here just about 3 weeks ago, and he ended up having to order it, and Jimmy Salinas put it in his truck.
I just have to have the time to drive it down and get the window put in it, but I didn't put as much priority on it as maybe I ought to have. I've been dealing with all the rest of the stuff going on first.
Okay. So you were going to make a motion. Is that the end of discussion?
Yeah.
So,
Okay. I'd like,
can I ask one question? So when you say a 3/4 ton truck, that would be like what, a V6 or something, Johnny, or a V8?
It would be a V8 with a heavy enough suspension to where you could tow something. The
Okay,
Toyotas aren't gonna tow anything.
right. So that'd be able to tow it. So when we get the generators, we'd be able to tow up to all the locations and.
Yeah, that, and if you've ever noticed that little cat skid steer that we got for free, we use that continually. And it takes at least a half an hour to 40 minutes to drive it from one side of town to the other because we don't have a trailer and we don't have something to tow it with.
Right. Okay.
I'd like to move that we authorize Johnny to get some quotes when he has time for a larger, more robust truck to be able to replace our leak truck that isn't, that, you know, we also have, but that's older and has some issues.
The leak truck is absolutely 100% dead, so that's not even a consideration. That's a $10,000 repair to get that on the road.
Okay, well, basically, I'm making a motion that we authorize you to get quotes to replace a truck that was our leak truck, but that was a hefty enough truck to be able to tow stuff. So we want the same thing.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent. Director Kelling.
Aye.
Okay, Director Nyman's an aye. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried 401. Okay, can somebody make a motion to continue business?
I'll move that we continue business, that we go ahead, it's almost 9 o'clock, that we continue business until we're finished.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent. Director Kelling.
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Motion carried 401 absent. Okay, on to number.
Can I throw something out just so I don't forget? I would like to put out there that as for future agenda items, I'm just making a note because I'm afraid I'm going to forget that we also need to put on the next agenda the purchase of a trailer to replace the trailer that we have.
Okay, you got that, Tiffany?
Yeah, do you want that on the planning or the next regular?
Next regular.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, number 19, discussion vote on creating a will serve letter and a conditional will serve letter.
Okay, so the reason I asked Tiffany to put this on the agenda was because when I did that conditional will serve, I realized that we have never actually given out will serve letters, that we just use the application as the will serve, and that's not really a great way to do business, I don't think. So we don't have to do this immediately, but I would like to move that we start to create an actual will serve letter and a conditional will serve letter that's not as specific as the one that we gave out to the LaFocas, but that, you know, that could be used for just such occasions, so we don't have to start from scratch.
Okay, do I hear a
Is that a
second?
motion?
Yeah, that was a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent. Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Motion carried 401 absent. Okay, on to number 20, discussion vote on policy and notice for unclaimed credit or customer accounts.
Okay, that's me. And just a note, Lisa, Johnny asked me to post on the CSDA open forum. So some people did respond and gave me some examples of will serve letters. So we have a couple of references.
Okay.
And then, okay, so on this one, if you remember back, we had come across an account with the unclaimed credit and we weren't sure what to do with it. I did some more research on RVS. We actually had 30 accounts with unclaimed credit that were on old accounts. A previous billing clerk, instead of closing out accounts properly, she just started new accounts, closed out the old ones, and just left credit sitting on them. So I did do some research and found the government code that directly addresses it. So that's section 50050. So basically, if it's under $15 and it's been over a year, that money just reverts to the district. If it's above $15, we have to wait 3 years for it to go unclaimed. And then we put an ad in the local paper, run it once a week, 2 weeks in a row. And there are specifications on there as to what that notice has to have on it. And then at that point, people can fill out a form and claim the credit. Or if nobody after a certain amount of time claims it, then it will revert to the district. And in the future, I don't think this is going to happen again. This is just a fluke, like I said, from a past billing clerk, but we're not going to be leaving any accounts just closed with money sitting in them.
Right, because this is actually going to cost us more, potentially to run that ad than the money that we owe them.
Right, but it's law and
I know we don't have a choice, but yeah, I'm saying I'm not,
So I
happy with the way-
drafted a, sorry about that. In the packet I gave you, there's a policy that I drafted. The second page is the unclaimed funds form, which if you looked on our financials today, we actually had 2 come forward for unclaimed credit already, and they filled out the forms and we just followed the process because that's the law. And then on the third page is the sample notice that will be published in the newspaper.
So potentially we could publish all of them at once.
Yes, that's what you do, all of them at once.
Okay. Got it.
I was wondering, the account number doesn't have to be on the sample?
Are you talking about the newspaper notice?
Is that?
That's what the sample is on the third page is for the newspaper. We
Yeah,
wouldn't
that's
put-
not gonna have
we wouldn't-
an account number.
Yeah, we wouldn't put account number on there.
Okay, and then the one that's the attachment A, the request for the unclaimed, we don't need to have the dollar amount that they're claiming?
No, it's on there and they're gonna get the dollar, they're gonna have the dollar amount from the newspaper notice. We'll have a dollar amount from the account number. And then on the bottom, you'll see how much is approved
Approved.
and how, yeah, so that's on the bottom.
And we've already had a couple people apply and that I approved, and then you guys have to approve it as well.
Well, it looks like we already refunded 2 of them without us approving it.
Yeah, it's a general manager approval.
Yeah,
And
it's the law, so it wasn't gonna make an issue either way, but I thought there was a part on there for the issuance and the check number and all that stuff. So that's what goes to you, I guess.
Okay, so has everyone looked at this policy? Do we want to make a motion to approve this policy?
How did they know that they had unclaimed money if you didn't publish it?
We probably called them because typically what we've always done is try to get a hold of people when we knew that they had a refund, and we've always just refunded them their money. So really what we've done already is nothing different than what we would normally do. But also we're calling people and saying, hey, if we have a contact number, then we just call them and they come down and get it. If we don't have a contact number, then we have to run it in the paper, because that's the only problem. If there's no information on who it is, like one of them that did it was Mike Khalil, which half the businesses in town. We knew who that was.
Yeah, I'll make that motion that we approve this policy, and it gives us a starting point. We can change it later on if there's anything needs to be, but it gives us a starting point to have a policy.
So you
Director,
want to read,
You name the policy? Yeah.
Whatever it was that Tiffany was.
Fraser Park Public Utility District Policy for unclaimed money.
Thank you.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Director Schoenberg has seconded it. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent. Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried, 401 absent. Okay, policy adopted. Okay, 21, discussion vote on selecting dates for planning meeting in November and December. Okay. Okay,
Second and third Thursdays of the month, like we had last year.
okay, so we have a water board meeting on the 12th, and so we're gonna do it on the 19th.
Yeah, as long as that makes sense.
Yeah, we would keep the daytime meeting that we have, and we would have an evening meeting as well.
Yeah. Okay, so that's for November, and then December.
Same.
So that's the 10th and the 17th. We're going to have a meeting.
Yeah, check.
I'm putting it in my calendar. So we're going to have to vote on. Hold on just a second. Okay. Okay, so I'd entertain a motion that we make the second meeting in December, in November, the 19th of November and the 17th of December. Who wants to make that motion?
I'll move that we change our meeting dates in November to the regular meeting November 12th and the planning meeting November the 19th. And then in December, the regular meeting on December 10th and the planning meeting on December 17th.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Director Garcia seconded it. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent. Director Kelling.
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. 22, discussion vote on changing or continuing modified services procedures as adopted on March 19th, 2020. Do we want to continue with the?
I was thinking that we might want to consider maybe November 1st or the Monday thereafter, modifying it to a little bit to where we allow one customer at a time wearing a mask to go into the front office, since we have the front shields up and all of that. So it's just a thought, since the rest of the country is starting to open up a little bit.
Okay. How does, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think we need to open up too.
Okay, so we're gonna modify our services. How do we need to do that? We're gonna make a motion, Director Schoenberg?
Yeah, but I don't have the modified service procedure in front of me.
Well, I think you can just vote for just changing the modified services to allowing one customer at a time in the front lobby with a mask.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we make that modification.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Can I do a friendly amendment before I second that?
Sure,
Sure. That we also put a notification of said policy on the door in big letters so that people don't argue, come in and start to argue, that they see it before they come in.
Yeah, I was already
I
gonna-
accept that friendly amendment. Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, okay, so Director Schoenberg, are you going to second that?
Yes.
Okay, Director Schoenberg is seconding it. Roll call directors, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent, Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. 401, one absent. I'm starting to lose focus here. 23, review and approve meeting minutes for 9/10/2020.
Did someone go over those carefully? Because I did not.
I
and we-
did. I did, and I have a correction, on the, September 10th meeting.
Okay,
It's on page 3. It's, second to the last paragraph, right above the, second to the last sentence, second to the last line says, the obstacles that are in the way right now. It says, but the fact that we're moving forward and trying to address all those obstacles, I think it should say by the fact that we're moving forward and trying to address all those obstacles.
yeah, I think that's okay.
You
I
accept that correction?
yeah,
Okay.
I had
And
something
that-
on
and
page,
that- Oh, did you have something? That's all, the
Yeah,
only one I had.
I had one thing on page 2 where it said at the very top of the manager's report, it said General Manager Johnny Allison was on the Zoom meeting when he could, because I think when he could be, I think we should just add a B. When he could be, because, because.
Comma, thank you. Comma, more anything. Yeah, I'll go for that.
Okay, so if that's it, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for September 10th, 2020.
I'll make that motion. I
Okay,
move that we, pass the, minutes, approve the minutes for September 10th with the amendments mentioned, and with a possibility for an additional amendment for typos or other errors that we may not have caught or that may need to be corrected.
do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Director Kelling is seconded it. Motion, roll call directors, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent, Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Motion carried 401 absent. Okay, on to, what's the next? The next one is September 24th, 2020.
Yeah, I didn't find any mistakes in that one.
I
Okay,
didn't have time to go over that one, so I'm gonna abstain from that one.
did you have a look at that, Director Kelling?
I read it, but it looked good to me.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion that we approve the minutes for September 24th.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
And I move that we approve the minutes for September 24th with the possibility for additional amendments or for typos or other errors that may not have been caught or may need to be corrected.
do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Director Kelling, seconded. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent. Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye. Director Schoenberg.
I'll abstain.
Okay, motion carried, 3-1-1, one abstention, one absent. Okay, 24, discussion vote on future agenda items.
I think we caught those up pretty much.
Okay, if there's no further, I'll,
I have
Yes.
one issue. I haven't had time to go on the banking yet, so before, if you can hold on a minute before you come up, and give me a chance to make sure that we have money to cover the checks that we wrote on the planning funds that, weren't.
You need to sign them anyway.
Right, but I need time to look it up right now before I can sign it. So I'm saying you can sign it. Director Nyman can take it to whoever else he has sign it, but before you come to me, or just know that it's gonna take a minute. I'm going on right now.
all right, I'll be up there at 9:30.
Okay.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion, that we adjourn.
Well, and if I find that there's not money in the bank, I'm going to recommend that we hold those checks.
Well, Director Schoenberg, you're gonna make the transfer, right?
I already made the transfer.
Right, so all you have to do is tell me not to mail the checks and I'll hold on to them until
Correct.
you
I'm-
give me
I'm just-
confirmation.
That's what I'm saying.
But
because it was-
you can sign them, I can have them here, and you just have to tell me when to mail them.
Correct.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I'll
Do I
second
hear?
that.
Okay, Director Garcia seconded. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson's absent. Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Diamond's an aye. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned at 9:16 PM. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, have a good night.
night.
Thank you, guys.
Everybody.
Thank you, Dee, Dave, Oscar.
Have a
Good
good night.
night. Good night,
Yeah.
everyone.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
night.
Good to see you, Pam.
Thanks. Good to be